This episode of BeatenDown is brought to you by Arco Roofing.
Are you in need of a new roof? Look no further than Arco Roofing. With nearly 20 years in the residential and commercial construction business, Arco Roofing doesn't just know how to re-roof your house or business, they understand how it was built.
Maybe you don't need a complete re-roof, perhaps just a repair will do. Arco's experienced team can assess your situation and provide the best solution for your needs, whether it's a minor fix or a full replacement.
Also mention that you heard about them on the BeatenDown podcast, and you'll receive $500 off any new roof.
Don't wait until it's too late. Protect your biggest investment with Arco Roofing. Call them today with your free roof report at 940-654-9096 or 817-304-1065. Again, that's Arco Roofing at 940-654-9096 or 817-304-1065. This episode of BeatenDown is brought to you by ABC Dump Roll-Off Dumpster Rental. ABC Dump is a locally owned and operated company. With 11, 15, 20, and 30 cubic yard dumpsters, they have the size for every occasion. Whether you're remodeling the house, cleaning out the garage, or doing commercial construction, they have the right size for your project. With upfront pricing and easy online ordering, ABC Dump makes ordering a dumpster as simple as possible. Give them a call or text at 682-803-8031 or order online at abcdump.net. That's abcdump.net. Pinto County residents and getting discounts. And we talked about this last week. So my daughter, she turns 15 in December. And so we're going to have a quinceañera for her.
Okay.
Because I'm half Mexican and now she's Mexican. And so she wants a quinceañera. Not a sweet 16, she wants a quinceañera. And I said, okay. Well, venues are not cheap.
No.
Except Crazy Spirits Ranch.
Okay. They are a chamber member. I know they do concerts out there.
Yeah, they do a comedy show once a month-ish.
Yeah, I haven't actually been there.
Is that the one that's
out by Facto's house.
okay?
Yeah.
I heard about that one.
North of his and to the
off Montgomery.
Montgomery.
Yeah, I have heard of that. I haven't been out there.
And it's brand new. Like this year, opened up, and so I work for the beer business. They're one of our accounts.
Okay.
So when you have to buy the beer from them, but I'm okay with that.
Right.
But my God, the price they charge, if someone is doing any type of whatever, they have like a his and her dressing room, like for weddings or whatever it is.
Right.
And then separate bathrooms, and they have a full kitchen area. Dude, if no one looks at that place before they rent anything else, any other venue in this town, they're screwing themselves.
Just because of the price tag.
The price is insane so I talked to them when they first started opening up. It's a guy and his girlfriend, and they're like, they came from California.
Yeah, I talked to them on the phone. They seem super nice.
They're awesome. And so when they first started, they're like, we don't want to get rich off this. We just have extra land. They basically built it themselves. He did a lot of the work. He obviously had to pay for people to come do the concrete and other stuff, but he did a lot of the work himself. And I have no ties to these people other than the fact that I just rented it from them and found the price and went, holy shit.
Wow.
That's it.
No shit.
That's it.
So that's where it's gonna. That's crazy.
That's it.
Oh, 1-0.
1-0.
Oh, I thought you did.
No,
I would have been impressed with 2-0.
No, so
bomb.
Holy shit!
Wow.
That's insane.
Right, because so my son's getting married at the Crazy Water, and that's $5,000 or $6,000, whatever, something like that, which is a beautiful venue.
Yeah, it's very nice.
I love the Crazy Water.
Yeah,
beautiful
up there
venue.
that's nice.
But for people that are on a budget,
right?
Holy shit!
Well, and a wedding is different than a quinceañera.
Right, 100%.
That's crazy.
Whatever, right?
I mean, that's
and they'll shut it down because they're like an open. They're like open every day of the week for people to come in there, and because they're a bar,
okay,
a quote unquote bar.
Right.
I mean, they just have a beer license.
Yeah, I've heard they have like live music.
They
out
have,
there
yeah.
when you show
Well,
up
and just to tag on to your point of them not trying to necessarily make money off of folks, I know for a fact that they host concerts
Yeah, I've
and,
heard that.
and the concerts that they host are almost always benefiting something.
Right. Their first event was a benefit for somebody.
Right.
For whoever, whatever it was. Somebody
they
or
came,
something.
they came from California?
Yeah.
That totally
So
falls
awesome.
that totally falls in line with what I have experienced as far as what I know to have happened there. So far.
Right. So they are.
It's not, I haven't seen it, so it's pretty.
It's an awesome venue. So check it out if you get
It's
a
really
chance.
cool, man.
But but now if you're your wedding and
Sure.
like I tried to explain to Tristan and Alexis, don't spend $12,000-$15,000 on your wedding for one night that no one really gives a shit about other than you.
Right.
Like, I've been to weddings that are in very fancy places, and I've been to weddings that are in very small places that are also just as awesome.
Right.
I didn't give a shit one way or the other about either one of them.
Don't go broke just to have a wedding.
I said, save that money and take a nice honeymoon,
So
or to start your life.
Myself and my wife, we got married in Salt Lake City. We got married in July, but got married on a Sunday,
Me and Tasha, same thing. What date?
July 22nd.
We're 27th,
Okay.
2003.
2001.
Okay,
So probably the same Saturday.
yeah,
Anyways, got married on a Sunday because, of course, the Mormons aren't doing anything on Sundays.
Right.
Yeah.
Not getting married. And
Right.
so they were wide ass open on Sundays. They were booked for like 4 years every other day.
Yeah.
But wide open
on a Sunday,
Sunday.
yeah.
But so it was like a whole package deal where you pay X amount for the house, and I want to say it was $10,000, and I say house, it was a venue,
Yeah.
with a very beautiful garden thing that happened in the back, but they have some of it as part of or some of the stuff that you use as part of the price tag, and then alcohol was not included,
Right.
Because it's Utah. There's weird rules on all
Right.
that. That's a whole other story for another day. But anyways, so
They are strange, yeah.
yeah, so we go through the whole thing, and then we get to all right, so you picked everything but the food that we're serving. And of the $10,000, we had spent like $6,000. And so we had like prime rib, stuffed mushrooms.
So you're like,
we
let's
had the
go.
best
Balls out,
of
yeah.
all the things that my buddies that were there for like 3 or 4 days before, they have all kinds of wild ass stories. But
I gotta
everybody that
pee
just
again,
went
I'm
to
sorry.
the wedding, they were like,
That's crazy.
man, the food at their wedding was fucking
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, like I said, with things like that, people remember
sure.
that wedding for. Ours was like at that Willow Park that's like between here and Weatherford.
Mhm.
Back then,
Oh yeah. No, I've been to a wedding there. I've been
back
to a
then, none of
prom
that
there.
stuff back there was built.
Right.
It was just
Just
that
that
front
one in the
part,
front, yeah.
and I think we paid like $500 for it.
Sure.
we were paying for it ourselves. We had a couple of kegs, and I knew some guys that worked for the beer
Sure.
company to hook that up. It was supposed to be outdoor wedding, and it was April 24th. And I remember a storm came, and it poured all night, like just monsoon. The wife was sitting on the front porch, just like distraught with herself.
Sure.
So we had to move it all like from outside to like inside this little thing they had.
No,
on
I've been
there.
in there. They had their prom in there
That
one of
front
my first years.
And like I said, none of that other stuff was built in the back. This was all up front.
Where at?
And that Willow Park
Oh yeah,
thing. That we spent like $500, I think.
yeah. They said that big dance floor area though, that big pad.
Yeah, they had that, and like I said, it poured the whole night
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
Just poured. But we had fun. I just remember weddings like it seemed like it was way more stressful for me. A lot of people had funner than I did because there was a lot of stuff going on with like maybe I had some guys that were supposed to be groomsmen that showed up later, and I just threw them on the doors to open the doors because they were shit faced. And but I mean, it was a good. But the funniest thing about the wedding is, so we were leaving. We're doing the walkout thing.
Sure.
Everything went well. They had the bubble things blowing them because throwing the, people were like throwing the rice is
Birds
bad
will
for the bacteria,
explode.
blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah.
birds will explode when they eat it. Yeah,
And I remember
which
people-
is that true?
I don't know.
I don't
think so
think
either.
so. I think it's bullshit. Because now people throw like bird seed and shit
Yeah.
too. But anyway, they're blowing the bubbles, and we had these little bubble things made with like.
Yeah.
Commemorative bubbles.
Yeah, you could take
That
them with
no
you.
one gives a
Yeah.
shit about. They throw
And I
them out
remember
immediately.
walking through, and there's people, and I remember
Unless you have a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Then they're gold.
yeah, oh yeah, the kids. And I remember somebody threw
Bubbles in your eyes.
the liquid in my
actual-
face.
oh.
In my face, and as we're walking
It
up,
burns.
I remember my instant reaction was, I go like this, and I can't see who did it and I remember I said, thanks everybody for coming. Whoever threw the bubbles in my face, I'm gonna beat your fucking ass when I come back from the honeymoon.
3-year-old kid.
that's the last words I said to people. Was in some kind of rage because there's soap water thrown in my eyes, and I'm sure it was one of my stupid friends. Probably Daniel did it, but
Maybe.
I remember they had decorated my truck, and we were staying
The cans in the back.
and we were staying at a hotel in Weatherford. Stay over that, and then we were driving to Galveston to hit a cruise.
Yeah.
And they had put condoms over my side view mirrors, right? Nice. So the first thing I do is I knew I was going to leave my truck for a week, so I'm going to wash all this.
Right.
Stupid stuff.
Yeah, because so we pull up in my wife loves this story because my face. We pull up in the car wash. I'm washing off, still in a tux, and I go to pull the condoms off, and my asshole buddies had sprayed shaving cream into the condoms. So when I pulled them off, she said all she saw was like an explosion of shaving cream, and me just standing there like this, just covered in shaving cream.
That wasn't shaving cream, just so you know.
It just blew up all over the place. But now I can laugh at it. But I remember I was not too excited.
So I've told
when
this
that
story.
happened.
I've told this story before. Tosh and I got married. So we decided to tell our parents we're going to get married. Well, her father, ex-Air Force, was an officer in Granbury, and then had since retired, but was not really like retired. He wasn't like 65, but he had since retired. And he had worked up in Kansas City doing security work with the government, some stuff there. And Kansas City, Missouri. Yeah, not Kansas.
Yeah,
not Kansas.
Yeah, it gets confusing.
Yeah,
People.
which I didn't know was a thing until then. But and so, in fact, the first time they met me, I got off work, we drove up there, and it was just terrible. I worked all day, we drove all night, and an hour from meeting them, I pulled over. I go, I'm falling asleep. You've got to drive. Anyway, so we here in town at our rent house, we invite my parents, invite her parents, because she was living in Granbury prior, and they had a house there, and so were here just for a little bit at their house in Granbury, and so we invite them. I make dinner, and we sit down, and we're like, hey, and we're gonna get married.
Okay.
And so her dad, everybody's like, oh, good, oh, we're excited. And then her dad goes, well, since we're sharing stuff, I'm going to Kuwait for 5 years. I leave in 2 weeks to do security work for the government.
Yeah.
He goes, so you can either get married in 2 weeks or wait 5 years. So we got married very fast in 2 weeks.
Damn it.
And was the Ramada Inn now the Knights
Yes.
Inn?
Yeah.
Used to be Little China. They have an extra little, whatever that is, building there next to them. And it was empty because Little China had left. And that's just an
This
empty
was
building.
apartments right past like
Mesquite Pit.
Mesquite Pit.
So Mesquite Pit, Realtor, that little,
Yeah.
whatever
Knights
that is.
Or
Knights
whatever
Inn.
it's called now.
So they had a little, you could rent that out.
Reception area.
Yeah, so you could rent it out. So that's where our wedding was, on a Sunday.
Nice.
And and it wasn't great. I mean, it was just very like
it was 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks. So we did it, got married. 5 years. So I told Tasha, like 2 or 3 weeks later, I go, we make it 5 years, I'll give you a big wedding.
We make it fun.
I said, if we make it 5 years, I'll give you a big one. And I'll be damned if 5 years later, when her dad comes back, now we have a big wedding.
Sure.
Through the church and all the... And I'm like, why did I say we would... because now it's just a wedding renewal,
Right.
vow renewal or whatever. But it turned out to be like I enjoy. It's just a big party. Is all
Sure.
we just had a big party for our anniversary is what we had, and it was a great time. But it was just like the first wedding was just like I felt bad. Like she was excited because we're getting married. Oh,
Yeah.
you know, and my family's here and my dad's here, and then it was just like the whole time I'm like I'm having fun, but this isn't the wedding, you know, that every girl dreams
but
about.
I mean, at least you got to do it. So I mean,
So I have several different aspects of mine to share. Number one, we got married in Salt Lake City, and so a lot of my friends had to fly out there, and family had to
Right.
fly out there. A couple of them arrived before, and so there was debauchery and nonsense.
Of course.
Right? Two of them arrived. One of them is the head football coach in Winsboro now. Other one is a Dallas Fire chief, I think now.
Damn.
Yeah, he's way up there. So they both arrive on a plane, and unbeknownst to me, it's actually one of their cousins, but our high school buddies worked for American Airlines, and so when they show up at the airport, he takes them to whatever the bar is there in the airport at DFW, and they're drinking beer or whatever. They arrive late to get on the plane. So he then works a deal where they get in the first class. Well, they're rednecks from East Texas.
Perfect.
So they have a bottle of Sprite filled up with Seagrams. And they're sitting in first class pouring themselves a 7-7. And, of course, the flight attendant smells it, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, look, guys, I don't know what you got in there, but you can't have that on the plane.
Yeah.
You got to put that up. And they're like, fine, can we just get a beer? And they're like, yeah, sure. So they bring them, Bud Light or whatever. And they're like, how much? And she's like, honey,
first class.
it's first class.
Yeah.
All the drinks are free. They drink all the light beer on the goddamn plane.
Oh,
I pick up I'm at the airport with my wife, her family. My parents had been there for a couple of days. A couple of people that are in the wedding have been there for a couple of days. And I'm picking up my grandparents, who are deacons in the Baptist church in Ben Wheeler, Texas. They are there. And I'm like, okay, all we got to do is pick up Brandon and Josh. They're coming off this plane. First two people off the plane.
wheelchaired out.
Well, so as they come out, I'm like, why are they the first two people off the plane? And when they see me, they're like, Hobbs, what the fuck? Like the first words F-bomb. I was like, oh my God. And they are just completely bombed.
Oh yeah.
So fast forward to the day of the wedding. It's a big deal. Of course, we show up late because I'm an asshole, and because we're going to Taco Bell or whatever. And we did stay we stayed in Park City, which is up in the mountains, and came back down to the valley for the wedding. And so it was a little bit of just a mistake on my part. But anyways, Joey and I, since she had a military ID because her dad was in the military, and brothers she had a military ID, and so we had bought alcohol for the wedding
From the PX
at
or whatever?
the PX,
Yeah.
and had got it no tax,
Yeah.
super cheap.
Yeah.
But in Utah, you can't buy kegs. Can't do it as a
Oh,
private
really?
party. You got to go to Wyoming. I think still today.
No shit.
Got to go to Wyoming to Evanston to buy fireworks and kegs of beer.
Pennsylvania's weird like that
Yeah.
too.
And so in Utah, you had to buy, and it's all the beers 3.2 unless you get it at the liquor store or at
Right.
the PX. And so we got it.
Is
at
the beer
PX.
cold?
Yeah. You can buy cold or hot.
But it's still 3.2?
Yes,
So
like in the gas station at the Common Sense Exxon station, like the regular beer is 3.2.
So like in Oklahoma, if you bought beer, it wasn't maybe
If it was cold, if it's cold, it was 3.2. If it's hot, it was
hot.
5.
It was 5. Yeah.
So yeah,
Weird.
Yeah.
Right.
But
No,
not anymore.
this-
It's different now.
Right.
Yeah, they went. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Mormons have not fast forwarded as much as
No,
everybody
no,
else.
no.
Believe it or not. So, anyways, we go to and we spend, I don't know, more than $1,000. I thought we bought a ton of beer. Nice beer, but beer.
Yeah.
And champagne and wine
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all that stuff, right? So we get married. Everybody's going through the reception line. I have just sat down to eat. So not that long, because I'm like the first in the line to get
Right,
food, right?
right.
And my uncle and my dad walk over and they're like, hey, you're almost out of beer.
Oh shit.
And I was like, what?
Oh my
I was
God.
like, we spent like $1,000. He goes, don't worry, we got it. So they go to the 7-Eleven down the street and buy all of the MGD Light and Corona. that they
MGD
have,
Light, baby.
Woof.
right?
Yeah.
So the champagne of beers and Corona
Yeah.
bottles, just like cases and cases of all bottles. So bring it in there. And so we have beer for the, and of course it's the first rush, right?
Right.
So after that, it's just my friends that are drinking all the rest of the beer. So fast forward that, we leave at midnight, go to a hotel, we fly out the next morning. One of my buddies who rented a car has the remainder of the beer, which they won't let you leave. Because again, rules, right?
Yeah,
they wouldn't let him leave it. And so finally he's like, well, I'll take it. So he puts like
it in a doggy bag.
70 bottles of beer in his rental car trunk. So they're just banging around as he's driving around.
Breaking.
They drive around Salt Lake all night. He leaves like not long after we do.
Oh god!
And sometime around like 8 or 9 in the morning, he pulls into the
Rental
last
car?
exit thing before you get to the airport, and finds a homeless guy and unloads all these individual bottles of beer. And so I obviously didn't see it; it was described to me. But all I could think of is this guy.
Christmas Day.
Yeah, down on his luck, like worst spot ever.
some
Not
guy
a
just-
good panhandling spot out in the middle of nowhere. And this guy just unloads like 60 beers, like at his
Made
front. Now,
his-
couldn't do shit with them, but sit there and drink them all because they're like loose.
Yeah. They're in a case to
Just
carry
the
around.
bottles.
Yeah, all bottles. But anyway, so that and half of them were Corona, so you had to have a bottle opener.
Oh
to
yeah.
open them
Oh
up.
god. Yeah.
So my best man was Sean Fiddler. You don't know him, but he knows him. I know my friend Sean. I didn't trust him to just be on his own and show up to the wedding. So I told him, you're getting ready at my house. So he shows up, takes a shower, everything at the house. I made him, you're going to be here by noon, you're getting ready, you're going to ride with me. I didn't trust him.
You're gonna be at my wedding. Yeah.
Yeah. So we do the whole wedding thing, and when we got back from the honeymoon, because I never went in the bathroom while he was getting ready. I was waiting for him to take a shower and stuff, and then we're gonna go back and we're gonna go where the wedding was and put the tuxes on and stuff.
Yeah.
So when we get back from the honeymoon, I go into the bathroom, and there's like 5 or 6 empty beer cans in the shower.
Oh yeah. Shower beers.
So
Love
he
them.
was doing shower beers, and I didn't know it, and I never even thought about shower beers.
Shower beers are awesome.
I said, so I call him, I said, why is there, and I think it was fucking Natty Light or something, it just, I never even saw him
Nothing
walk.
wrong with that.
I never even saw him walk in with beer. Because that's the weird thing. He's, oh yeah, shower beers. I was like, shower beers? He goes, trust me. And I got to thinking, I was like, well, I mean, I've had beers like sitting in a hot tub and the ice cold with the hot, and he said, yeah, it's just, he introduced me to shower beers. And I'm pretty sure probably there's more than 5 or 6. I mean, there was a lot of. I remember when I opened that shower curtain.
12.
They're not in the trash can.
All the
Like,
cans.
I opened the shower curtain. There's like empty beer, and he had smashed them all. And I'm like, how did I hear you doing this? And I'd got all the groomsmen custom flasks with their initials on there, And so I gave them to them early, so they all showed up with them full. So Joe had showed up. My brother-in-law had showed up, and I remember we're sitting there. He's the first one at the house, and it's like 11. I remember 11:59. He pulls that flask out, and he's like, "Drink it before noon." Turns that flask up, and that's why I had a couple of friends that were supposed to be ushers that I couldn't trust them to be ushers because they showed up late, and I put them on just. Y'all stand here and just open the doors. And I had to get my uncle and another guy to be ushers in their place because they couldn't even walk people. I said, I can't have these guys walking down the. And Richie Crozier, might know him.
Yep.
One of our.
Arco Roofing.
Yeah.
One of our sponsors.
I remember Chas is coming out there doing pictures before the wedding. I can't see her, right? So they're making me turn my back. And Richie. Oh, she looks beautiful, man. She looks beautiful. And he's like, I got $500 right now. Let's just leave and go to Mexico. Let's just leave. I had a lot. I had like 6 or 7. I had to get all these groomsmen because the wife, for some reason, she decides to have 8.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, I have to.
Now you have to find 8
I have to find. Do I have 8 friends?
You do, but you don't have 8 that'll show up and walk in a straight line.
So, funny story, my best man for my first wedding, Sean Fiddler.
Same guy.
Nice.
Supposed to be.
Huh? See,
I did not ensure that he was at my wedding on time. So he did not show up to my wedding until the wedding was done.
Oh, wow.
So, like, whatever the time was. 5 o'clock is when we're going to do the wedding. And so at 4:30, Sean is not there. And I'm like, he'll be here. He's been, like, Sean was the guy that when I started kindergarten and I walked into the school and I'm crying and I sit down at the desk because I don't want to leave my mom. Sean's the guy, the little redheaded kid next to me that's like, hey, don't cry. I'm Sean. You want to be my best friend? And I'm like, yeah. And so Sean and I were friends forever.
Right.
And I'm like, well, that's the dude that needs to be my best man.
Right.
He's fucking 6 years old or 5, whatever. That's my best. Well, I was 5. He was, I don't, well, Sean's a December.
No, he's your age.
No, but he's a December birthday.
Yes.
December 3rd.
Yeah.
So he's also whatever. We're the same age.
He's the 5th,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
6th.
5th.
Okay. Anyway, so.
Not that important.
Anyway, so I'm like, that's the guy that's gonna be my. He's been my friend ever since then, and that's gonna be my best man. And then 5 minutes before the wedding, he is still not there.
Gotta
so-
pick somebody else.
So I look at my dad and I go, "Will you be my best
Time
man?"
to step up.
And my dad,
Second.
and so my dad's like, "Absolutely," and I go, "Thank you." And then at the second wedding, my dad was my best man, and that time I asked him prior to,
Right.
not 5 minutes before. But yeah, that son of a bitch. And then he
Yeah.
showed up. So now we've had the wedding, everybody's eating, and we're all, and he shows up. And I go, where the fuck have you been? He goes, I forgot.
Damn.
But also, it was a 2-week wedding. So
Sure.
it was.
Well,
this
yeah,
is-
no doubt.
Yeah, yeah.
But I
forgot about
was there to witness this and heard about it and everything, and so that's why I was like, I even was trying to be like, stay the night. He lives in town. It ain't like he lives. He's
Right,
in town.
right.
Yeah.
But Sean gets a little sidetracked sometimes.
So I'll give you one more wedding-ish. So we get married in Salt Lake, and we're staying in Park City, and I've been fishing and working for Red Lobster all summer.
Oh.
Red Lobster.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Waiting tables, making a shit ton of money doing that.
Oh, obviously.
And, just loved
all
my
the
life.
cheddar biscuits. You
Yeah,
could
things
eat.
pretty
them
much
damn
went downhill after I
Cheddar
got
Bay
married,
biscuits,
to be
dude.
honest.
Man, love it.
But so, I fished a ton, and I had found a couple different places where I knew no matter what, I could take my friends.
What are you fishing for?
Fly fishing, trout.
Okay.
Yeah, you showed me
Yeah.
pictures before of like.
So you're
the
a fly
fishing-
fisherman? Dude,
Love
that
it.
Yeah,
that
he-
is so weird.
One of the
to me.
first nights I ever hang out.
Because
I hung out with Seth. He was brought up his phone. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this.
Fly fishing just seems weird to me because the pole is completely different.
Yeah, so it's ass opposite.
Because like on my fishing, my Zebco or whatever I have here, Zebco 303, it's got this much below the reel. You know what I mean?
right.
But the fly fishing pole has nothing below
and
the reel, and you're
mimicking,
doing this.
You're
Okay, so
mimicking the
you're-
flies
you're-
landing on top
you're
of
like
the
a-
water.
a
right? Is that
whiplash.
what you're doing?
No.
Okay.
So
no, stupid. You're so stupid.
I know you're flicking it on the water.
You're flicking
you
the
can,
bean.
You can do that. That's like a master class, like when you actually like get it like really close to the water. That's like the river runs
Those
through
are
it. shit.
okay. Yeah, that's
Okay,
that's why.
okay.
That's
The
why I'm
basic-
thinking of it.
The basic principle is your Zebco 33 with your rattle trap on the end of it.
Okay.
Okay. That is a heavy lure and a super light line. And so you're using the momentum of the lure to cast it out.
Okay.
And the light line just goes with it.
Yeah.
Flies are the opposite. They are extremely tiny and minuscule weight-wise.
Okay.
So you use a very heavy line,
So how big's the hook on that?
tiny, like the end of your
Like-
pinky nail.
Like
I got a-
like a perch?
Yeah, the smallest you've ever caught a
perch
perch
hook?
on.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing that I would fly fish with.
How does it?
And so it's got like hair and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that on it, yarn, whatever, and you fashion it into.
But a heavy line.
So super heavy line, and so that back and forth motion is to create momentum to eventually get that line out there, and the last couple feet will be monofilament with the tiny fly on it.
Right.
So heavy line, light fly, you're using the weight of the line to get the fly where you want it to be. So it's the
So
exact
once the
opposite
fly hits the water,
Uh-huh.
you just leave it.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's various different. So it depends on what kind of fly.
Yeah,
it is.
fly
So
fishing just like
if it's
that
floating,
blows my
if
mind.
it's floating on top of the water, yes, you just leave it, and you have to mend that heavy line back and forth to make sure that the fly is still going at the same speed as the water. Because
Right.
of course, if it's going too fast or too slow, then it doesn't look like a fly on the water.
Right.
But you can also fly fish for bass or trout or whatever with bigger, streamer type lures, and
Yeah.
you would retrieve them with your hand, just like you would.
It's just like a reel.
Yeah, but instead of using the reel, most time people just use their hand
And they
just
pull the
strip
line back.
strip it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you make your own flies?
I have. Yes.
I got a buddy at work that he would bring his up there, and he'd be out during break outside practicing.
Yeah,
Practicing his casting.
and it's definitely an art, and
Yeah,
it's
because that line is like the line you have that you're whipping back and forth is.
it
could be a shit ton of line.
several 20, 30, 40, 50
I always
feet.
thought you were
But
just
that's
making,
where it's
I always
fucking
thought they were
crazy.
just making it hit the top of the water and slinging
And
it
pulling
back.
it back.
Yeah, no, I mean it's more the momentum of casting it, but of course you're trying to direct it in the right spot. Eventually, you get to the point where you're trying to not have it just like splash down on the
Yeah,
water, but
barely
in fact lay down on the
like
water.
a fly would lay in.
Yeah, exactly. All those things. So, anyways,
Yeah. Sorry.
we are. I have found a couple different places where I know I can take my buddies and my dad and actually catch some trout, and this would be a super cool thing. So the day before we get married, this is a Saturday, in the early afternoon, I take them to this place, and it's a very popular place on the Provo River, up in the mountains, but not very far from Salt Lake, and definitely not very far from where we're staying up in Park City. And at this place, I had told them, look, guys, I have a fishing license, but I have never seen a game warden where if you're fly fishing, they talk to you. Like, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, they just don't.
If you're dragging a stringer of fish out, somebody may talk to you.
Yeah.
But if you're fly fishing, you throw them back, nobody ever talks to you. And so there's a railroad trestle there where this kind of antique train comes up and down, tourist train.
Yeah.
And so myself and my dad are on one side. My buddies are on the other side. They have 2 or 3 of my rods on that other side. And it's kind of a wide open area right underneath this trestle. They catch a couple fish. I catch a beautiful trout. And I have the picture somewhere. My dad.
So you don't keep
That's the one-
trout?
I don't normally know. I have before.
Yeah.
And they're good.
I think you showed. Is that the picture you showed me? Maybe of that.
This one's old, so probably
Okay,
not.
well,
But I catch a very pretty fish. My dad takes a picture of it, not
Right.
with a phone. This is 2000.
Okay, yeah.
Oh yeah, and like an
one,
actual.
so, yes, like a disposable click camera. Takes a picture of it. I look back across the river, and my friends are getting browbeat by a game warden.
Shit.
So I'm like, son of a bitch. So I can't go over there, right?
Yeah.
So turns out they all get warnings.
You go, who the hell are these guys?
But they're chewing. I mean, he's chewing their ass hard. They eventually have to put all their shit up. Well, in the process of that, I forget about my dad, and I look, and he's gone. And my dad now is 70 something. So at the time, I'm 21. He's 45, 50. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's like, screw this.
No, he goes up in the woods and drops his waders and acts like he's taking a shit for like 30 minutes because he ain't got no fucking license either. So he's hiding in the woods.
He just bailed.
Never sees the game warden. It's
that's
awesome.
awesome.
And so,
That's
like,
okay,
I finally go, when he leaves, I go over there and talk to my buddies, and all that. And they're like, yeah, thank God, but he told us we got to leave. And so I'm like, all right, let me go. You guys see my dad? Like, did he move down the river to fish? And we're like, I don't know. And we walk over the trestle and start down the trestle and look, and he's up there. He's like, is he gone yet? He's still got him down
He's pretending like he's
by his ankles.
That's
And I was
great.
like, you are the biggest fucking redneck here. These
great.
guys are drinking beer, fishing without a license. They got to ask you, but you went and hid. And you're a grown-ass man, like
fake
50
taking
years
shit.
old.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's
Well, he
awesome.
knows all the tricks.
Go ahead. He knew
He's
for
like,
sure.
I'm not fishing. I'm taking a shit.
He's seen that, and I'm
pretty sure
set
it's probably-
that camera down and said, fuck you.
It's probably not the first time he's done that move.
Well, and also, too, in talking to him in retrospect, he said, now, them kids, they would get off of the warning. I'm grown.
he's gonna-
I was going to get a
he's
ticket.
going to get you.
I'm a grown-ass
I get
man.
it. Finally.
I can't believe either one of you haven't done it yet. I got such a small bladder. It's stupid. So, is that your trout?
Well, yeah, but it's not. I'll have to just pull it up.
That's fine. So you were a coach, and like my dream job was to be a coach, like forever, and but I imagine that being a coach had to be very taxing on the family because you never know.
100%.
Is it year from year, the
Yeah,
contract?
Yeah,
Year from year, you don't know where you're going to be.
correct. And so literally when I left the school, I had this conversation with my family, and my girl said, we really like to stay here. And that's what prompted me to, I just assumed we were going to move and go somewhere else. You know?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, your daughter now is in high school,
Right.
your oldest.
Right.
And so she's been here for years and made friends. And so the moving, like, even minus that, just the moving has to be harder on the kids.
Sure.
But now you have a daughter that's established in a school, and now your idea is like, well, I can go somewhere else. But now everybody has to up and move.
Right. And the chances that I'm going to find a comparable job
Right.
and not move are almost ridiculous in being here. Right.
Right.
Now, if you're in the Metroplex, yeah, you might drive
Yeah.
or whatever. But, you know, for this example, yeah, it was, what am I going to go be an assistant in Santo and, you know, make significantly less money
Right.
and still drive, or
Right.
am I going to go work in Weatherford? And I actually did try and go work in Weatherford. Like that was something
Yeah.
that was on the radar.
But that's where Joey went, right?
Yeah,
She's in Weatherford, right?
Yeah, she is
Yeah.
the principal of the. They call it the RISE, which is the.
Like the DEAP or whatever.
Well, so that's Bridge, which
Okay.
is DAP, and then RISE is like the accelerated.
Okay.
So think bad kids and pregnant girls. And
Oh,
it's not really
right,
pregnant girls,
yeah.
but that's what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is very taxing on the family.
So, how many schools since you began coaching have you coached at,
So
or did you coach at?
I worked at Texas A&M Commerce for 2 years as a GA.
At college.
Yes.
Okay.
Joey and I made $7,700 a year each. She was also a GA.
That much, huh?
I was a GA and a TA, so I actually taught classes too.
Okay.
Her job was way harder though. She was an athletic trainer, so she worked all the time, but not the same crazy ass hours I
Right.
did. But so yeah, I did that for 2 years.
You played
then
though too, didn't you?
Before that, I played in Kansas. Yeah.
Yeah. At the same one that J-Dub went to, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Southwestern. Then I worked at Farmersville for 5 years. We won the state championship in 2007. We went to, the whole staff pretty much went to South Garland, which was a big pay raise for all of us. And so
Okay.
we all went there for 2 years. Got the head football job at Rio Vista. I was there for a year.
How did? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So then went from there back to South Garland. The head football coach had actually left, retired, but several of the other guys were still there. Worked for a new head coach. It was okay, but it was just different, and I kind of stepped on a buddy of mine's toes that probably should have been the offensive coordinator when I came back in, and he was, but I would end up being the one calling the plays. And in retrospect, that was not a good move for me because it didn't. All it did was make it hard on him.
Right.
And it was hard on me too. And of course, I just got basically fired from being a head football coach. And so, like, you know, I don't know, it just wasn't a very good time. Left there and went to Little River Academy, which is down by, it's a Temple suburb.
Yep.
Which now they're very, very successful 4A school. We were not very good when I was there, but I had a really good time. I worked my ass off. Coached 3 sports and taught 6 classes, and you know it was. But the neighborhood we lived in was great. That Joey's job was really good. My kids started kindergarten there. My oldest kid started kindergarten there. I was there for a year and had the opportunity to go to Waco Midway. Went to Waco Midway for a year and worked side by side with Gerald Perry. And what I mean side by side, like his classroom and my classroom were next to each other.
Okay.
I coached secondary, he coached running backs, but we were both head football coaches that had been fired, and so we, you know, got together. Also, he had gone from a job where he made I don't know what a ton to the same that I made, which was not very
Not much at all.
And then he had the cars and the house payment and all that stuff, and so he was living on like $12 a week allowance from his wife. So I would give him lunch all the time. So we became best friends. And so, anyways, worked there, and he got this job in Mineral Wells, and he said, "Hey, I can get you and Joey."
So that's how that happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
He said, "I can get you and Joey both jobs here, and you could live there and not have to drive." Well, at the time, I was living in Temple, driving to Waco.
Oh.
And it was a whipping.
35.
Yeah, sometimes I would drive to McGregor and take like 30 minutes extra so I didn't drive into
Yeah.
town.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So, anyways, I and of course we hit it right with, and he knew that coming
Yeah.
in that there was a real good class coming. Matter of fact, the head football coach then at Waco Midway, Terry Gamble, went to Allen, was very successful at Allen, and it was older when he was he retired from Allen, so he was already that was his first job was Midway, and we were very good there.
Yeah.
Lost to Denton Ryan in the third round.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
We played in Cowboy Stadium. So, anyways, he had warned me because he knew Sean Harvey really well, and he goes, "You don't need to go to Mineral Wells." He goes, "I know a guy there, and he's told me, he goes, they ain't never gonna be worth a shit." He goes, "I don't think you should go there."
Sean Harvey was the head coach or the AD when
He
I
was the
a
head
senior?
coach and the athletic director.
When I was a senior. 99.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
when
the
he. That's
AD
when he. That's
and
when
the
he.
And
AD
that was like
only for a couple
that was
years
just like
after
a
that.
fluff.
Because he was our head coach too, my
Yeah.
senior year. So
And I love Sean Harvey.
Yeah,
No, he's great,
but
and
by
he's
God.
really a great coach too.
Yeah. But he's not a great head coach AD.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure, and definitely doesn't play the he can play the politics game,
Right,
But,
but he-
only with certain,
but
people.
not well.
He can't play it. He can't play with serious people. He can play with people that like to bullshit. Like
Yeah.
us.
oh yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right.
That's why we loved him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, anyways, came here, and it was a real blessing just because everything was here. All of a sudden, I went from commuting and all that to being
You're here.
concentrated, and then we were pretty successful. Even the first year, we didn't make the playoffs, but we were right in it.
Right.
And then after that, obviously, very successful for
Right.
a while, and just kind of farted and fell down into the head job. But
So I just want to ask you, because I know there was, when you became AD, there was, and I'm not going to say animosity, but there was like, I was told, and it could be wrong, I don't know, but I was told that someone very close to you, maybe possibly has a ring on her finger from you, was like, well, when this guy, I'm going to be next to him because I'm not going to let him talk shit about somebody that I know, you. Just Facto. So Facto was like, Facto, you and Facto and Robin and were
Yeah.
good friends with Joe, you and Joey. And so there was the previous administration. I loved him until it seemed as though he gave up.
Yeah.
Because there was a time where, like, when the program was doing great
Right.
and went deep into the playoffs,
Right.
was doing great. But then when all that left, that guy was very vacant.
sure,
And it wasn't like 2 or 3 years after that my son is now in high school. And he's still vacant. And I'm not a guy that will sit back and be like, because I just want the best for my kids.
Sure.
And yes, it's different when your kid has
your kid's
no.
in it. It's different. Yeah.
Well, but it's also different when your kid is just a part of the team, where your kid
versus
is very
if
athletic.
not the best player, one of the best players
Right.
that anybody can tell. Right.
Right.
The best, maybe the best athlete in school,
Right.
Right.
but yeah,
Right. So
which was
I
me.
can sit back and watch a year or two of it, but then when I'm like, you're not around, like you're not here, and everybody else is doing your job, and it was very apparent that there were other people doing his job, you being one of them. They're like, why are like? And I never said why are you here, but it was just like, you clearly don't have the heart to be here anymore because those athletes that you had prior seasons are no longer here.
Right.
And nothing against, like,
Me and him,
I get it.
Me and him haven't spoken about that per se.
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
definitely tell you that I'm sure he was worn out a little bit from
Right,
it.
right.
But also too, you got to understand that.
And from a personal perspective, nothing against him.
Right, no.
But from, like, if I don't do my job, I understand what's going to happen.
Right.
And if you are absent from your job, some things may happen. Right. And I get that. And it, again, as a no one makes money. You're not making millions of dollars as a coach.
Right.
Unless you're in the NFL.
Right.
I get that. And I'm not trying to get people to lose their job. And I did write an email to the board going, what the fuck are we're wearing fishing shirts and shorts on the sidelines, and I didn't like that because perception
Right.
is a big part of it. And every time I look across the field, they're at least collared shirts, but fishing shirts is fine, but they're not in shorts and look like they're about to go fishing, which is what was going on. And I didn't, whatever. And that's a big running gag that we've had on this podcast forever. So, because I wrote the email to the board, blah, 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 blah.
Such a diva.
Yeah.
Well,
but
I would say that probably the result on the field,
Oh,
which
yeah.
was bad,
Right.
was
That's
the precipitation
huge.
of.
I mean,
well, yeah,
Yeah.
If you're
obviously.
if you're having success,
I got to pee again.
Which
Even
I
though
will-
it's my conversation. I'm sorry.
No,
if you're,
which
if you're
I
having
will-
success, you can.
And I will
overlook that.
take just as much credit for us being shitty then as I will.
But I understand
any
wanting to
blame.
be comfortable as well, though, because it's hot as fuck out there.
Yeah, I didn't really give a shit if they had shorts on or not.
No.
But Daniel did. He's
No,
such a diva.
I
But,
understand.
no, I loved it when you were AD. When the stuff you started doing, like getting the playoff games here,
Yeah.
like we had fun going there and watching the. And
You
they
know-
that was awesome because
It's-
that's never really been a thing around here, right? We had a really good facility.
My personal perception on the whole deal is, and maybe I should save this till he gets back in there, but I can say it doesn't matter, is there are different types of people that fit for different environments, right? And there are some people that are very, very good at being the politician or the car salesman or whatever.
Silver tongued devil,
Right, and that fits in some places. Here, my experience was that, and the way I feel, and again, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like I was received well because this is a very blue-collar place to me. Overall, now there's some haves for sure,
But
Yeah.
but
for the most part,
and there's some obviously have-nots that don't give a shit about
Yeah.
anything.
Right.
But the middle-of-the-road folks that actually come to the games and actually care about their kids and all that, they respond well to you being the guy that's picking up trash because it's sitting there, right?
Right.
And so, but that again, that's how I was raised. It's not. I'm not bragging on myself. That's just how I always have done things. And so,
what a braggart. I pick up trash.
Right, exactly. But just
Yeah.
I think that if you're, and I think this is the same for anybody that's in a leadership role in this town, in any sort of, in my current job or in any job in education, whether you're the principal or the head coach or whatever. I think if you are a doer instead of a sayer,
Just be involved.
yeah, then people respect that,
Right.
And I think that's what, that more than anything, that's what I was able to get a lot of people on board with me,
Oh, yeah.
and then obviously kids as well, right? Like
Well-
they respect that too, I think.
Yeah, so all that between Facto telling me whatever. Anyway,
Now my wife is a fighter though too. by the way.
100%.
Like she'll talk crazy to anybody.
100%. But I told Facto, I go,
well, this guy's married to
yeah,
Lindsay.
yeah. I go, I love Hobbs. Because Hobbs is out there every day with these fucking kids. It doesn't make a fuck. And he is involved. He's not just sitting back. Like, my problem with the previous regime was that we would go to the open practices. And he would sit at the rail, watch a little bit, and then go into his office. And then maybe come out again and just look, and then go back to his office. If you are only the AD, cool, because you have a head coach doing that.
Right.
But that person was both. Right.
So the other side of that though, not to
No, I'm with
shit
you.
on you too
No,
much, but
go ahead.
the other side of that is
because I don't know your side, y'all's side of it.
if the head coach is too overbearing, then the guys underneath him don't have that opportunity.
Right.
And that's what I will say. And I had to, my last year as a head football coach, is I had to let Landry call the football plays.
Right.
And at first I didn't want to. Mm-hmm. And then I really got thinking about it, and I called the guy that was my mentor that let me do it when I was at Farmersville. And he said, well, how old were you when I let you do it? And I said, oh, I'm like 28. And he goes, is this guy younger than that? I was
Right.
like, no. Coach,
No.
he's like 30, 33.
Yeah.
He's a college quarterback. He's a great kid. And he goes, well, do you want him to be successful in the future? And I was like, well, yeah. I
And
think
now
so.
he's AD and
Right.
head coach of
Right. Yeah,
Guthrie?
Gustine.
Oh, Gustine.
Yeah.
Gustine, yeah.
But, I mean, that
After
and-
taking like a year and a half off or 2 years
and
off.
his path went a little different, but
Yeah.
that was his point, was if you don't give them the opportunity,
Right.
then they're going to follow you, right?
Well, and that makes
especially
sense.
somebody like me that's loud and in charge and all
Right.
that shit,
Right.
And I find that in my own job too. Right now, I have to farm some of that stuff out, and I hate doing that. I
I'm
hate
with
letting
you.
other people do
I'm
it.
with you.
But if you don't do that, then A, you're going to find yourself at work more than other people.
Yeah.
And then B, they're never going to get any better. They're just going to do what you tell them to, and that's it.
But the flip side of it was when they left and you stepped up, right, was that there was a very big shift in the team. So no, we didn't win state. We didn't go deep in the playoffs, every year. But there was a very clear shift in the team when you came in, and my son was very excited about football again.
Right.
Which, for him, like, football was a lot of his life. And maybe that's because of me and whatever, but was a lot of his life, and he was just kind of like, whatever, football. But then you came in, and I'm like, and I told Facto, I love Hobbs. Dude, like, he's there. He's there with the kids. Like, he's seen. He's doing things. Like, he's there. And I'm like, there's no issue. No, you won't hear one complaint from me. Because I was hoping that would get back to Joey.
Right.
Just because you won't hear, and you never heard a complaint from me. But because I could see my son's excitement about football diminish and then come back.
Right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's what it's like. To me, it's not about kids getting to college. Like, there's kids that want to go to college for this, football or sports or athletics or whatever. But to see their passion diminish sucks. Yes. And then come back.
Yes.
And I'm like, I don't give a shit if you ever go to college for football.
Right.
But to see your passion come back, that's what it's about. Like, for me. And when I saw that, I'm like, we could lose every game, but when your passion is there because you're excited about what's happening or where the future may go, that's awesome.
So in my coaching career, I've told everybody this that's ever been associated with me.
I'll go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. But I'll still disagree with one thing that you did. But go ahead.
All right, I'll take it.
No, go ahead. Yeah, I know you will.
My best
because I was wrong. But go ahead.
My best success was when I was the head football coach in Rio Vista.
Okay.
Season-wide.
Yeah.
Because the year before that, and the guy that was there before me, great coach.
Yeah.
Very successful afterwards. Not a great coach for that place because it was a elbow grease. Have to work your ass off. And he came from a big school, didn't fit, had to turn around and go somewhere else. But previous to me being there, the varsity was 1-9. The JV was 0-for. The eighth grade was 0-for, and the 7th grade was 1-9.
Damn.
2 wins, total program wise.
Damn.
Yeah.
The next year, my 7th grade was 6-3. My 8th grade was 0-for. They had 13 kids. Went down to 12 because I found out 4 weeks in that one of them was like 16.
Oh, God.
Too damn old to play. Yeah. So if we would have won any of those games, we'd have had to forfeit.
Yeah.
But, and here's a whole other story. One day I caught him taking a shower with the kids after the game, and he didn't play in that game because I wouldn't let him because he was too old. I was like, do you not have a house? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. He's like, no.
The JV was 5-5, and the varsity was 4-6, and we beat Toller.
Who
almost made the playoffs that year. We beat, lost to Millsap in the last second, who was a very good team that year.
Yeah.
Scared the shit out of Cisco, scared the shit out of Crawford, almost beat Hamilton. Like, we had a chance to get in the playoffs every game. And so that, for me, was super, super successful.
Right.
Now, me being an athletic director, then a disaster. Because all I knew from the guy that taught me everything was the football part of it, and never how to deal with people, especially people that had interest in other things like the school board. And so everybody,
and that's the other side of it that no one hears is the politics of it.
But he knew it and dealt with it, but he had a lot of experience doing it. I just never saw that part.
Right.
But the people that voted against me in the school board meeting where I didn't get a contract for the next year, every one of them had an axe to grind that didn't have shit to do with football. But I didn't know anything about that until it was too late. And then I was 29 and a hard-headed jackass and thought, I got a state championship ring from last year. Fuck y'all. I know how to do stuff. And like, compared to what we were doing before, I was producing it on the field.
Yeah.
But, football-wise, I will say that was my best success. And we didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I thought I did a great job.
That's awesome.
What did you disagree with? Going for 2?
No. No. No, that I completely agree with that.
I love that. I don't care.
No, I 100% agree with that. It was a terrible. Who was it that missed the the catch.
Oh,
Was it Caden? I don't remember who missed. Somebody missed the. Well, anyway, no, I completely disagree with Tristan being the running back
Okay.
because of how small he was.
Okay.
But
you were wrong.
son of a bitch, I was wrong.
Yeah, he.
Oh.
He's
I
not
was
at the
I was
beginning.
completely wrong.
Oh, before
Yeah,
it got going.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
thought.
Well, and I will say to a certain extent.
But I agree with
to
what
a
you
certain
said,
extent,
though.
You were right though, because he did miss some time because physically
His
he
shoulder.
wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't.
But I
built-
mean, you get.
He's
Gotta
not
get
built
the-
to be a running back,
Right.
right?
But you got to get the best athlete
But
the ball.
but
right?
but
as many
so
times as you can.
When Tristan came home and told me, I'm gonna be the running back, and I'm like, no, you're not. You're a fucking receiver. You're a receiver. You're a defensive back. He was like, no, I'm gonna be the running back. And I'm like, no, you're fucking not. There's no way in hell they're gonna put you as running back. You're a receiver, defensive back, wide receiver, defensive back. I said, and maybe third string, fourth, fifth, eighth string quarterback if
Right.
that happens. And he's like, nah, running back, starting running back. And I go, no fucking. Did you not see the running back the year before, which was, what was that big?
not Morales, but somebody like
No,
him.
the big guy that ran the touchdown that against Breckenridge that put us into the playoffs. Anthony. I could be wrong on that. Anyway,
Anthony Hernandez. Yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah.
yes. He ran that last
Yeah,
play
yeah, yeah.
as a running back because he was a big kid.
Yeah, yeah.
And-
Overtime. Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
yes. Great game, by the way.
Yeah.
Awesome game. Anyway, but you proved me wrong. Like he was because I think you told me, or somebody had told me that. Oh no. In fact, I still have it saved. You did a interview with Dave Campbell's football.
Okay.
Fastest kid in our district.
Yep.
I want to see someone catch him or something to that effect. And I went, well, yeah, let him get past
You gotta
the
get the-
first few defenders, and no one's going to catch him.
Right. Exactly. And obviously, you have to be able to
Block.
mitigate
Yeah.
mitigate some of that and
But his injury it came from kickoff
right.
because he tried to hurdle somebody and they got his legs and he hit the ground on
Right.
his shoulder. It wasn't even running the ball. I mean,
And
it
I
was,
knew-
but it wasn't.
I knew too, just from experience of it, the taller kid. So state championship here, our running back that rushed for like 3,000 yards that year. He was a state third place in powerlifting in the 148s. He was fast, but not super fast. Not nearly as fast as Tristan.
Yeah.
Not even the same league, but unbelievably strong. Great side to side movement. His last name's Redwine. That's like a legend in Farmersville. Like if you got a Redwine on your team, folks got problems. But anyways, he's a great running back. Scored first play of the state championship game. Like
Wow.
70-yard touchdown against Tatum. Like he's a dude.
Yeah.
But the fullback was long and very similar, maybe like an inch or two shorter than Tristan, but very similar to that build, like real
Yeah.
long and lanky. And I remember going, Coach, what the fuck we got this kid playing,
He's
playing
gonna get-
fullback
You think he's
for?
going to get killed?
And he was like, well, if he hits the trap, we're going to tackle him. And
Oh, yeah.
he's not scared. He'll block him. Now, is he going to run over him like this kid that's playing behind him? No.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
And we'll move him in and out some.
Yeah.
And he's also going to play outside linebacker.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like if we hit the G right, like he's gone.
Yeah.
And he was right, and so. But that kid too, we taught him as we were playing how to get tackled. You know what I mean?
Right,
And that's what I tried
right.
to teach Tristan was, you can't be scared. You got to hit it right. And he did that a lot naturally. He was very natural
Yeah.
at being a downhill runner. But at the same time, once you start moving down the field, understanding that, okay, I got 10 yards. It's okay to lean out of bounds. It's okay to lean away from
You
a
don't-
hit, stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
You don't have to fight for every single
you
inch.
don't have
You
to,
get-
there's,
you
there's,
take a
there's
big hit
times
when
to
they
do
get
it.
held up. And
Yeah, there's times to do it and times not.
Right,
And
right,
so,
right.
that with taller guys, that a lot of times that's a thing you got to
And
teach.
don't eat
Right.
tuna fish sandwiches.
Yeah, that son of a
Stop
bitch.
doing that
Every
shit.
every day, every game day, he would call me and say, "Hey, can you go to Subway and get me a tuna fish sandwich and whatever else he wanted on it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And I bring it to him, and then every game he would
He'd throw
throw up.
Gross.
throw
the
up before
trash
the game.
can.
I'm like,
tell him that's
stop
'cause you're
eating
eating
fucking
tuna fish.
tuna fish.
And he kept doing it.
And he did it every
I would
game.
throw up if I ate tuna fish too.
I love tuna fish.
Ugh.
I love
tuna
the
fish, but
juice
I don't
of
know
the
if
tuna
you'd
fish.
eat it.
Ugh.
I don't know if you'd eat it before a game.
I love the juice of a tuna fish or tuna fish. I don't give a shit. Straight out the can.
It used to wear me out. The kids would get fast food and stuff before games, especially the younger ones. But like whatever, But
Yeah.
like the older ones, sometimes we would eat and have like grilled chicken and
Yeah, oh,
noodles
yeah.
or whatever, something really good, like 4 hours before
Carbs
the
and
game.
protein, yeah.
3 hours for the game, and then here comes girlfriend or mama handing them a box of golden chick or chicken or whatever. It's like, guys, that's not going to help you at all. I mean, I know it tastes good, but 45 minutes from now, that is going to turn into a rock in your stomach, and your activity level is going to go like
My dad would always say eat pasta.
Tristan, carb load.
Yeah,
carb load before the game.
He'd always say like the night before.
Oh, carb load,
He would make spaghetti.
Yeah.
You're eating spaghetti.
Tristan-
Meat sauce spaghetti.
In junior high, Tristan, prior to a game, he would ask us to go get him. Now, it wasn't all for him, but we would get him like a large pizza. And then he would share with the kids whose parents weren't bringing them food,
right.
But I mean, half of that's his. And then he'd be like, "Oh, here's a piece for you and a piece for you." It was like, and he's eating a half of a large pizza, and I'm like, "Dude, I don't know that that's good for you." He's like, "I'm fine."
So good high school me and coach's story. So we used to do different parents' houses would do spaghetti dinner.
Oh, yeah.
Thursday night.
Thursday night, yeah.
Okay, so we would go to whoever's house, and nowadays it's different than it was in Redneck, Winsboro, East Texas. Again, a place where I saw the Ku Klux Klan across the street from.
Holy shit!
Yes, when I was in high school. So we're talking about way out in East Texas.
Woo.
Yes,
Yeah.
very, 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 very different place.
How far is that from Tyler, Texas?
An hour.
Yeah.
Very,
Towards Louisiana.
yeah, and north of Tyler. Actually, not that much closer to Louisiana than Tyler, but
But
straight,
just straight north,
north
yeah.
of Tyler. But very, very backwoods type of place.
Okay.
And has definitely gentrified more here in the last 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
But at the time, very,
Not at all.
very redneck. So we would go to different parents' houses. They would cook us spaghetti, right? And it's mostly the seniors, maybe some juniors, not necessarily all of the varsity team.
Right.
And our thing was we would go outside and turn on whoever had lights in their driveway, and we would box with boxing gloves. And I distinctly remember the head coach screaming at me one day because we were playing Dangerfield or Gilmer or somebody just ridiculously good. And I showed up with the biggest shiner, just big black, because we were using 16-ounce real live boxing gloves and just beating the shit out of each other. And he was like, "My kids are going to starve in February when I don't have a job because your stupid ass couldn't keep from pulling your dick out and decided you wanted to box somebody in your front yard." I was like, "Yeah, but I won."
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
You should
won,
see
though.
Paul.
Yeah.
His nose is fucked
He's
up.
got a missing tooth.
When we were in, well, he's younger than me, but when
One
we were,
year.
yeah, I know, but when we were in Travis, here in Mineral Wells, and I just remember
4th, 5th, 6th.
Well, but I remember 6th grade. That principal, if two kids
Let you box it out.
had an
Oh,
issue,
yeah, old school.
he would let them box it out.
Sure.
And so the kids could watch on the outside windows. You couldn't go in, but on the outside windows, you could watch those kids box. And I'm like, I don't
No, we
I never boxed anybody because I was a very easygoing. Even throughout high school, I was very easygoing. I never let a lot of shit bother me. But I'm like, I've never had issues with the kid that I'm gonna box them. And the ones that I did would probably whoop my ass anyway because they were bullies and I didn't want to fight them anyway. So, no way. But I would watch 4, 5, 6, 7 times a year, watch somebody box each other.
That's awesome.
No,
I think it was awesome too, though.
Yeah, we had
I got no problem with that.
Our principal
Obviously,
in
it's
junior
different
high.
now, but-
Yeah, oh yeah.
In junior high, might have been the same principal. Might have went to
Yeah.
junior high because he would. They in the band hall in
In the
junior high,
yeah.
they pushed everything to the side, and he would go in there, just him and the two kids that. And most time it was kids that wanted to fight each
Yeah.
other, and he'd let them throw
Box.
down with boxing gloves. And with guys, how guys
They
usually
get
are.
so tired,
Well, no,
Right.
guys
No, it
usually
don't take very long.
with guys. Any fights I ever got into, like when you're done with the fight,
You're done.
you're done. Guys, hey, even shake hands or be cool with
Yeah.
the dude afterwards. And that kind of was the
One of my parents in Rio Vista that ended up voting against me as a school board member. His kid was a pretty decent athlete, but an integral part of the team. Again, small team. And another kid got in a fight in the locker room. And so it was towards the end of practice. And the next day I had him come in. And I made them hold hands all throughout the day at school. And I gave them direction. I said, I'm going to go up there 10, 15 times today. And if I see y'all, when you're in the hallway or whatever, if you're not holding hands, then we're going to have a whole other plan, and here's what you're going to do, and you're going to run until you die, and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And so the parent of the quote unquote better kid, good kid, he got in a tussle, or got mad at me about it, and I, and eventually the kids didn't fight anymore, so I felt like I solved the problem.
Yeah.
The other kid, and this is where he had a leg to stand on, the other kid was an asshole of epic proportions.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And he, in the very next game, is talking crazy to that kid on the field. So they're cool all the way until they get to the game. And then they're talking shit because something's happening. I can't remember what it is. And we end up losing the game. It's Crawford is who we're playing. We start out really good, but then they're much better than us. So they're kicking our ass. And so at some point in time, the secondary coach, he's a very experienced coach. He comes down. He says, "Hey, coach, kid A and kid B, they're going at each other out there." And I said, "Well, tell them to fix it, blah, 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 whatever." And he comes back to me about 10 minutes later, "Coach, and of course they play both ways, so there's no time to sit them down."
Yeah.
And finally I said, "John, you tell that motherfucker that he can do it my way and shut up, or he can take his shit and go to the house." He said, "Okay." So he walks down there, and I'm watching the field. We're playing defense, and the kid is off the field. He's normally our free safety. He comes off the field. And so I'm watching the field, and all of a sudden I hear somebody say, "What in the hell? What?" And they blow the whistle, and I look, and the kid that he told is walking towards the field house.
He's living,
taking all of his shit off on the field as he goes. He's down to his pants and his shoes. All of his shit is strung across the field as he walks.
He did Antonio Brown when he threw his shit on.
A whole 9 yards. Football helmet, has stopped the game, pick all his shit up. So, like, the next Monday, the kid comes into my office and tells me he wants to, go to basketball. I was like, "Fuck you, bud. You're never playing another sport here
you're
ever
done.
again."
You're done.
And, of course, I had the support. Nobody, wasn't a deal. But that parent then used that, in the future.
Yeah.
You should have just got rid of him when he first got in a fight with my kid. And I want to be like, "Well, I think your kid was also a dick.
But
He's
they're
just
still-
pretending
they're
to
still,
not be
they're
a
still
dick."
kids. I was
And
I was trying to
and that's the whole other side, and that's why I'm in awe of my wife and everybody, really anybody in education still, because I'm not in it, and to be honest, every day that I'm not in it is a day closer to never being in it again.
Right.
Just being completely honest, and I might, but there's a good chance I won't. But all of those people that have kids' best interests at heart and continually try to help them because they understand that they're kids.
Yeah.
And they understand that if you give up on them, that's like the worst sin ever, right? Like to give up on a kid, no matter what they've done, short of, like capital murder or whatever, which she's had to actually deal with this year, right? God. She had 2 that are currently on. You're going to be prosecuted for that, right? But like even serious stuff, like trying to give them as many chances as possible. Yeah. And sometimes it'll bite you in the ass because sometimes they will completely walk in and shit on your desk or get you into trouble or get you into trouble. Yeah. Like all of those things.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you get rid of them, then you're telling that person and their parents, "Look, I don't believe that he's going to be successful or she's going to be successful."
Yeah.
And once you
but how do you do that to a kid?
Right, exactly. Once you do that, I think, especially if you're an effective educator, I think you then instill in them, "I have no hope. I have no way to move forward. And I'm going to now choose crime or,
I'm gonna go down the
lethargy or whatever." Right. And I just don't I don't know how you can do that. And I am in awe of people that are continually able to get up and go and help those.
I don't know how parents turn their backs
On their own kids?
You know,
Sure.
And it's
my kids probably could commit capital murder, and I still would be like,
well,
what did they do?
in
What did you do? What did they do?
What happened?
You had to kill them.
Them?
You know?
No.
And I got girls. I mean, but
I would go through school, and there was always the bad kids.
always
Like, it didn't matter. They were just bad kids. Like, they're bad kids. But that, like, I'm a student and going, that's a bad kid. But the teachers would never be like, that's a bad kid.
Right.
Because as a student, I'm just looking at the kid because that's all I know. The parents are going, yeah, he's acting up. He's being, but what's going on at home? Like the student, like the
The teacher,
teachers, the administration, they're not looking at just this. They're looking at the whole picture. What's happening that we don't know about or that we do know about. And,
not everybody in this business takes that takes that into consideration.
Right.
And it's important too to understand
please.
that.
I wasn't getting it for you.
Thank you. It's important too to understand that, from a standpoint of, do you live in the community where you work?
right.
And that's the way I always approach it. I probably said this in a parent meeting at some point, is I don't want your kid to be the kid that I see at 1:00 in the morning on Saturday morning after I've done everything with the game, turned the money in, and I'm driving home, and he's on a obviously stolen kid's bicycle,
Right.
cruising down the side of Hubbard, right? Like that kid.
Right.
I don't want your kid to be that guy.
Right.
He's 19, he's 20, he's 21, whatever. Obviously up to no good. Okay. I don't know that. I don't know how you can live in a community where that could be a possibility,
Right.
and allow that to happen unless they cross a point where you just like where you're bound to where you can't help them
Yeah.
anymore. And if there's ever a chance, then I don't because of your own thing, like, and that's why the guy that was the head coach at shitty school had like a 80 game losing streak, Fort Worth. Diamond Hill Drums.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
The guy that was the head,
Ooh.
the guy that was the head coach there. I
Yeah.
told him when we played him, and it's 100-0 or
Yeah.
whatever. I told him that I thought he was doing a fantastic job because they had won a game or two that year.
Yeah.
And I told him that I thought he was doing a fantastic job. But more importantly, I said, I know that there are 33 kids that you have out here that if I come to Fort Worth and I go to the mall and my window gets knocked out, it's not going to be one of those 33
Right.
kids. Like, that's the whole fucking point
Right.
of the deal. And if you live in a smaller community like this, well, then that's what you're saying. If you don't help them, is I'm okay with you doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't understand how that's an option. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And especially nowadays where if you be hard on a kid, like trying to set the tone, like I'm trying to help you.
Right.
Everybody's got their fucking mittens on and get so uptight with shit like that and everything. And they're kids. You have to set a standard. You have to. There has
But
to be
they're
discipline.
not just kids, especially through the high
You're
school.
molding their freaking brains.
They're
are
kids
stupid.
that are young adults that need to be, if they don't have it at home, molded to be giving to a society, not taken away from society.
I mean, we saw it. We were great Pee Wee coaches. That's all me and Daniel had. But
Yeah.
no, but you saw it with the kid. You even saw it with kids, and you had kids in your.
I still have kids.
This is a good kid that
And-
I'd had kids, or I'd go pick them up from
Yeah.
their house and take them to practice, and that's the same.
and
And
I've
people are too sensitive about that's my baby.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Blah blah
I've
blah.
always and Tristan agrees with this, and Tristan has actually said this on this podcast that he only calls the people that coached him
Coach.
that he respects coach.
Right.
He still calls you coach because he respects you. But to me, like in my regular conversations, I don't call you Seth. I call you coach.
No, I mean I call him Hobbs.
You don't.
I call him Hobbs. I always call Coach
okay.
Hobbs. Coach Hobbs.
Yeah,
Coach
but I
Hobbs.
call him coach.
Call him
Coach.
Seth makes me feel weird.
Yeah, it does. It does make me feel. It's like calling.
It's still weird to hear it 2
Right.
years
Yeah.
into
Hobbs.
It's Hobbs or Coach Hobbs. That's,
Yeah,
that's
but
what it always
coach, right? And that's Because to me, that's always been a sign of respect for the people that I respect in my life.
Sure.
And so the people I respect in my life that also respected my son, I'm also going to call them
You don't
coach.
call me coach though.
Because you're a cocksucker. You didn't coach my son. You coached
I did
against
too.
my son.
I did too. We did all star.
Oh, we did All-Stars one time. And I didn't like you
and
then.
we got rained out. We had a good team. Damn it.
Anyway, so Tristan's kind of the same way. He only calls you coach if he respects how you were as a coach. And so coach to me is a respective term.
Sure.
And it doesn't matter how long. So for me, and I don't ever tell like the kids that I coached, but I still have kids that I coached, like Tyson Reeves.
Right.
Like he had aspirations to be a football player and all this stuff. Life didn't deal him that, but he still calls me coach, and he still texts me all the time. Hey, coach, just want you to know this is what's going on in my life. I did have troubles, but here's where I am in my life. And I'll get a random message, and I'm like, dude, I'm proud of you. Love you. Let me know if you need anything.
Sure.
Keep going on the right path. You know, and that's just, I'm not any type of mentor, but if they want to perceive me that way, and if the kids want to perceive you that way, like that's where it makes a difference, right? For the kids. And it doesn't matter if they're 10 years old or 18 years old. If they perceive you as a mentor, you've got to be that mentor. No matter how long or how far past or removed you are from that mentorship, you've got to be that person.
Sure. No,
right?
I get it in
and that's
Walmart or wherever all the time.
And that's why I completely believe that teachers impact, no matter if it's you're there for a year for a teacher for them, or for 4 years as a teacher for them, you do make an impact for them. Because I remember the first teacher that ever told me I was a fucking idiot, and it was in junior high. And now he was right, because we've talked about this. He was right, because
Junior high definitely.
yeah. Well, we were having it was an assembly, 7th and 8th grade, talking about life and where you want to go in life and blah blah blah. And they were like, "Do you know what you want to be when you grow up?" And I raised my hand, and I've said this on this podcast. Porn star.
Did you really?
No, absolutely not. But I did raise my hand.
That would have been awesome.
And I go, they were like, "Oh, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And I was like, "I want to be a neurosurgeon." And clearly I'm not a neurosurgeon.
Right.
But at the time, and even through high school, I had the grades to go to college and do things like that.
Right.
Now, life did obviously not put me there, but I raised my hand, said this, and they're like, "Okay, so there's, this much college for this, and then you got to go specialize in this much college, and it's a long road, but you can absolutely do it," like the speaker.
Right.
You can absolutely do it. And I sit down, and this teacher was sitting literally like 2 people from me. And he goes, "Really? That's what you want to be?" I go, "Yeah, I want to be a neurosurgeon." He goes, "Good luck on that." And it's a fucking teacher
Right.
saying this to me. And I'm like, well, and that's the reason why I'm not a neurosurgeon today. Anyway, but like, why would you do that to a kid?
Sure.
Like, in my mind, like, it didn't dissuade me from one way or the other. But why would you do that to a kid? Why would you say those words to a kid?
The opposite can also be true. The kid, and this is where I think I did a much better job even than anything in athletics, is in the classroom when I taught classes, was finding those kids that if you just gave them a little bit of success,
anything,
watching their product, and I would get principals, and this is from like the second year on,
right,
until I stopped being in the classroom. I would get principals that would come to me and say, "Why are you giving kid X an A?"
Right.
Because he's failing every other class. I'm like, "Well, I'm not giving him an A." He came in and slept the first 4 days, and when everybody else got out of the room, I shut the door and I pinned his ass up against the wall, and I said, "Listen here, motherfucker.
Yeah.
I heard you talking the other day, and you're not an idiot, and you're not going to be an idiot in here.
Right.
You're going to pay attention. You're going to do this, blah, 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 blah." And then all of a sudden, he did. And
it just takes a little bit of some structure.
And so I think the inverse is true too. You can be motivational even if it's just for 50 minutes and they don't give a shit the rest of the day.
Right.
But it's all about again about respect and them understanding that, okay, when we come in here, this is what the expectation is.
Right.
I used to giggle because there was a coach when I was young. He was older guy.
I got to pee again. I'm sorry.
You're good. He's an older guy, and he's terrible classroom manager. He's a softball coach. Yeah. And had a whistle and used to blow the whistle during class. And I heard it like, I almost say I was a second year teacher, and I heard it like the second week of school because it was across the hallway. And I walked in there, I was like, what are y'all doing in here? He goes, discipline, blah, 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 whatever. Well, of course, he did it for about 8 or 10 weeks, and then all of a sudden kids were going to the office all the time. It was because it was an absolute
he's
like false narrative, because before too long they figured out that he's going to blow up at anything, so we might as well just do whatever the hell we want to because it's not going to matter.
Yeah,
he's going to lose this shit. Yeah,
the kids are kids, but they're still going to realize that bullshit.
Right. And I learned a lot from that too. Is most of the time the best way,
be real with them.
Yeah, and the best way to get a kid, and really an adult too, and I found this to be true no matter what, is if Daniel is talking shit about how his kid shouldn't play running back, and there's a group of 10 parents standing around, if I come back with him with all of my responses right now about how he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, blah, 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 how's he going to react in front of all his buddies? Not very well. No. That's not going to go very well. But if I say, yeah, okay, maybe we should talk about it sometime, and me and him just talk about it, it's a whole different situation. And the kids are the same way, right?
Even more, because it's one-on-one, kids are so entwined with the
social aspect.
Social aspect.
So if you get one-on-one in the room and it's just you and the kid,
but so are adults too. I think that it's important. I think that it's important to show that respect.
Oh, teachers
are, especially when you're in charge of them, right?
Yeah.
To show that respect,
right,
and say, you know what, there's a way to handle this, and it's not by dressing you down in front of everybody, whether you're a kid or an adult.
Teachers get respect. They don't get paid a lot of money, and they get to do all. They got to deal with.
I just have too many people in my life, both in my family, but then just friends of, that are in the education industry, and I'm like, y'all deal with so much shit.
Well, and
that no one ever sees.
Not only that, but then they have in the last, and really it's cyclical, so it's probably continue. People that taught in the 60s and 70s probably looked at 20 years ago and said, oh my God, look at all the rules I got to follow and all that stuff. And so I think, golly, right? I think that obviously that's a social trend that will continue, sure, right? But it's a real thing about having to be able to balance. Okay, do I want to be an effective teacher or administrator or whatever, and step across what I know is a possible line to affect change, or am I going to choose not to do that because in the end my family's got to eat,
it's still a job, right? Everybody's still got jobs,
and what are you going to do if you're not doing this, right? Like
right,
fucking Chamber of Commerce.
But there's still also the like
dream,
but like there's like I saw it's a TikTok, but it's a lady. She was talking about.
That's where he gets his news source.
That's where I get 100% of my news source. 95% of my news source.
98.
But there was a lady. She was talking about if I stay where I'm at, and she's now got her master's degree, and she's reached this level of blah 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 in TIA.
Yeah. That's like an incentive thing.
So every year now, or whatever, she gets like a $5,000 bonus. Blah 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 blah. But career-wise, she got asked to come interview for this other area, school, whatever it is, and it's a step up. So now she's not teaching; she's in administration,
right?
AP or whatever it is, but it's less than what she's making here.
Yep.
And she's like, thanks, TIA, and blah, 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 blah. Because if I go here, the TIA won't pay me my bonus.
Or the district, yeah,
whatever it is, won't pay me my bonus. So do I stay and not advance my career and make more money, or go over here, which would advance my career, because she's got her master's or 3 masters or 5 masters, whatever she's got, and advance my career and make less money.
Right. I will say, though, and this is from the experience of having been in education for a long time, and then getting paid pretty decent money as a head football coach and AD.
But is it?
But it's really not that much.
But is it you teach and then a stipend above for?
What,
or
the
is that
TIA thing? Or?
No. So I teach and I also coach softball.
Yeah.
So I teach and then I get this much money for coaching softball.
Yeah. So it's gonna go up by step according to how much experience you have. So let's say you've been in it for 10 years and your school district, and they're all different, right?
Right.
Your school district pays you $60,000 a year for a 10-year teacher step.
Right.
So then you get paid $3,500 to be the assistant girls basketball coach.
Okay.
And then you get paid $5,000 to be the head softball coach.
Okay.
And so right now you're at $68,500.
Right.
And then if you do, UIL math or whatever, that's another $1,000.
Okay.
And it's the same for like.
So the more you're
band
involved, the more you
directors.
get paid.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. And so that's how smaller schools stay competitive. Is they have a smaller staff, but everybody's going to do 3 or 4 things.
Right.
And so it kind of adds up. Whereas the smaller school might pay less for the teacher, they would pay more total stipends. The
For everything
opposite
else.
would be true at, like, say, Garland, where they're going to pay you much more for being the $60,000 a year job at Mineral Wells is $50 at Santo, but $70 at Garland.
Right.
But in Garland, you're only going to coach 2 sports, so you're going to make $6,000 extra, so that's $76.
Right.
Well, in Mineral Wells, you're going to coach 2 things and maybe a third extra something, so you're going to make $74. And then in Santo, you start at $50, but you coach
5
things, and that's going to get you to $70. And so it's all about where you want to live,
Right.
And
how much,
trying to match all that stuff.
how much
together.
extra
Yeah.
time
Yeah,
you want to.
because that's a lot of time too.
Right, and that's the other thing
Right.
is the time part of it,
Right,
and that's
right.
to be honest, that's the number one thing that I think people don't calculate for and I'll say any teacher that because every business has the employee that leaves 30 seconds after the horn blows, right?
Right.
So the education is no different. There
Yeah.
are people that beat the kids out of the
Yeah.
parking lot every day.
I'm out here, boom, done.
Yeah, and every day, right? But if you are a person that does truly work hard, and then even more so if you participate in extracurriculars or you are an administrator or whatever, that time is not like what people that are outside of that workforce understand.
Yeah.
And that is the number one takeaway that I have in the last 2 years is, the 8:30 to 5 or the 9 to 5 or whatever
Yeah.
clock that people just like, that's just how life works. And at 5:04, why would I be here anymore? And it's not,
Right.
it's not personal. It's
Yeah.
not like an attack or anything like that, but like, this is the time you pay me to work. After the time you pay me to work, I'm not working anymore. I'm going home. That does not exist in education,
Right.
for the most part, and especially not in coaching.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
when you add that to, people that really try and be successful, or that deal with the subpopulations of kids that have to get driven home and all
Right.
those other things, normal folks that aren't in that realm or haven't experienced that realm, they do not understand.
Well,
that.
the other thing that blew my mind and kind of made me go, "Ooh, that's weird," is that like Friday night the game's over. Coaches will go in and start breaking down film because
After they get right
Saturday
Yes.
is when you start breaking down film with the kids.
So you gotta be
Right.
ready.
And
So
normally,
you may be there till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Sure. And depending on the size of the staff, you're going to have, your junior high coaches help you with that to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But it's a regular thing for a coaching staff to expect that by 9 or 10 o'clock on Saturday morning that the film is traded with the next school.
Right.
And
That's the
it's-
other
and
part
is,
of it.
And is broken down into, play-by-play cut-ups, ODK, offense, defense,
Yeah.
game cut-ups, even more so than that, right? Lots of different data
Right.
in, all that different stuff. That's pretty much a common thing.
Because you have to, the other part is you have to transfer with schools.
Right.
Here's
that's
what I
all-
got on this.
and that's
Here's
all-
what I got on this team that you're about to play.
Right. And that's all electronic now. And
Yeah.
and even more so now, just to add a whole other layer to that, is a lot of times now they'll trade. So let's say we're trading 3 games total. They're going to trade the first 2 on, say, Wednesday before you play the first game. So
Yeah.
you're playing Graham, and next week you're playing Decatur. So Decatur is going to trade you their first two films that you designate previous on Wednesday. So on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, you're also breaking down Decatur while you're preparing to play Grand.
Friday.
And
That's
then
crazy.
on Friday night after that game, you're then breaking down that game, which I hate that shit, by the way. Whether you win or lose, I hate it even more when you win.
Yeah.
Looking at all the mistakes that you made, right?
Yeah.
Because they're kids.
'Cause that's what you wanna
Kids do
fix.
Stupid
Yeah.
shit all the
Yeah.
time, right? And so you're worried about that, and then you have to, automatically like cut a switch, go to the next one,
Right.
and being able to balance that's hard, and then even more so being able to, like, as the head coach, like, play that out to some of your staff so that it can be done correctly and to the best of everybody's
Right.
ability. But then also those guys not being too much into Decatur because we got to play Grand.
Yeah, they're focused on we got to beat Graham.
Stop worrying about the past. Now we're going to the
Right.
future.
But also don't
This is
worry
what
about
you-
the future too much because we got to play those
Yeah.
guys. If we don't beat these guys, then what difference does
You
it
did
make?
this wrong there. Let's fix it because maybe it was a bad game for you, but
Yeah,
let's
that's what
fix
people
it.
don't realize is the
Time,
time that coaches,
especially for a coach.
The time is insane, and then on top
And then you
of
got to
that,
teach classes, and you got to get your
you got all the class stuff,
And
and
you-
then
yeah.
on top of all that, you have the maintenance and management of 100 to 200 children and all of the trash that they
Yep.
produce and the laundry that they produce and the equipment that you have to manage and upkeep and all those different things. The ones they get the worst rap ever, and sometimes it's justified. But the ones that I would never, ever in a million years do their job is the athletic trainer,
oh shit no.
because the athletic trainer is there from whenever the first practice starts to whenever the first practice ends. Now there may be more than one of them, and they trade off stuff.
Yeah.
But then when football season's over, there's a real good chance that there's only a couple guys that are going to basketball.
Yeah.
And the other ones have at least a week or two where maybe they're at 5 in the morning and leaving at midnight. They have a little bit of a break. But the athletic trainer, they go from football to basketball the very next day.
Oh, yeah.
And they're expected to be just as dialed in. And so it used to crack me up whenever, like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the athletic trainer is sitting on the training table watching, something on Netflix, and a coach will walk by, especially a younger coach, and they'd be like, "Man, old Doc, what's his name? He's such a worthless blah, 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 blah." And I'd be like, "Dude,
yeah, he's fixing the
he's been here for 14 hours today.
Yeah.
And he will be the whole year.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
No matter what. And then the expectation is that when you walk in there with your kid that needs to get something fixed, or God forbid you're a parent with an injury,
Yeah.
that he is going to be super professional, super attentive, fix your problem all the time. Let's forget about the fact that he may also have a family and children
Right.
and
Right.
all those other things.
he's not getting paid hourly.
No
either.
shit, no. So that's a job I will never ever do. At least if you're in for a penny and a pound as a coordinator or a head football coach, you're probably getting paid a significant amount more.
Yeah.
Those cats don't get paid shit compared to what they do. So I would never ever do that job.
That's crazy.
Who would? Oh,
They gotta love what they do, man. And,
I guess. I mean,
So all the rocks I've thrown at education and coaching, I will say that when I made $700 and something a check, and even when I was coaching at Farmersville, I felt like every time they gave me a check, I felt like I stole it.
Right.
the thing is because you're doing what you love.
Yeah, because because it's fun and energizing and all that stuff. And I will say, and I do like my job a whole lot, but there are times in my current job where I'm like, ho hum. And I think that's the majority of what
for
people.
sure.
And I never had that in the coaching aspect of it. Really not in the teaching aspect of it either. Now, the ancillary things that went along with the paperwork parts,
Right.
obviously those suck, right?
Yeah.
And that you have that in teaching, you have it in athletic administration. But outside of that, at no point in time was I ever like, man, this. Now, did I have a conscious idea that my family is not in the same place
home
I am?
without you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, also because my wife would tell me, "Hey, you piece of shit, you're not
Yeah,
here."
yeah. What are you doing, motherfucker?
Yes,
It's 1 a.m.
exactly.
What are you doing? Watching film?
All that being said, anything cool coming up in Mineral Wells in the future?
Man, there's a ton. I think the last time that I was talking to you guys, we talked about like data centers as being a big thing, or maybe
Yeah.
I didn't talk about.
No,
that,
you
but-
talked about some things possibly coming in.
Yeah,
but
those are on.
some stuff at the base.
Yes, a lot
You talk
of
about
lot of interest.
You
in
talked
that.
about the baker.
Yep. So the baker is
You last time you were here was
You keep cutting them off.
I know,
Say
but
something.
I know. Last time you were here, you were talking about the baker. In 3 months, you would go from 20 people working there to
200 or 300.
yeah,
He said you notice
Yes, and it still hasn't
because they had to get more money.
yeah.
'cause all the
There was more
bullshit.
money. Yeah,
And so basically, the long and short of that is the money has been allocated and it's been signed off on by a bank, a local bank that is financing it, and the federal government is backing it.
awesome.
And so that is a done deal. But the original agreement was done in 2019.
Right.
And so all of those things that went along with the original agreement, architectural plans, bids, all those things, they all have to be redone.
Right.
And then there are 9 or 10 different owners
Right.
in that, or investors, excuse
Right.
me. And so they all have their own lawyers. The federal government has their own lawyers. The bank has their own lawyers. Each architectural firm, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And so going through that process just takes forever. But yes, at some point in time, in hopefully the very near future, you will see a distinct change because it will go from 30 to 300 or whatever the number is,
Right.
workers. And they work 5.5 days a week right now.
Right.
Like Mark's crew is in there. You know, there's 25, 30 guys that are in there every day at like 4 o'clock in the morning. And they're in there on Saturday half a day. And there's some fantastic things that have happened in there. But they do what they can with the budget that they have.
Right.
Which is basically like 1/10 of the total budget.
Right.
So you can't just do it all at once with that budget.
Right.
That being said, I do know for a fact that multiple different, I want to say studies, but maybe that's the wrong word. I'll use studies.
Right.
Have said that projections have said that it's a 30-month project from the day that money hits the bank.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, and which is a fast forward compared to what they were originally talking
Yeah.
about. They were talking about 4 years plus to really get it going, and really once it gets going, and really they multiple people have told me that 30 months might be longer than what they really need. So, because again of all the work that they've been continuously doing,
They're setting up, getting ready.
right, yeah, and it's just it's the big things.
Well, it's like
that have to happen.
setting up one of those domino chains,
Mm-hmm.
right? You set up the domino chains, and every once in a while, somebody's going to knock it down and be like, "Oh, we got to start over." But that doesn't stop because you know that this is what the end result's
Right.
going to be. We just got to reset it up, and we've already done all this work to reset it up.
Have you guys taken a tour?
No, he has one that he's supposed to take me on.
No, I've taken a tour not recently, but
Since they've done some renovations?
No, he's done. He won one.
No, I didn't win. I bought it
He bought it at an auction.
auction, and
And he's supposed to take me on it, but he hasn't yet.
Okay, so
well, I mean,
it will
everything.
blow the organization of what they've done because of the historical preservation part of it.
Yeah.
It will blow your mind. We went. I've been in there, 15 times over the last 2 years, but the one I can remember the most is Josh Abbott band was here.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy Water last
Yeah.
year. Well, Mark took them all, and I was the guy that was like the concierge and drove them around or whatever. Got to eat at second bar with them.
Oh,
Pretty
yeah.
hard job.
Yeah.
Right.
This
So,
is
walk around the baker. We actually used the outside elevator instead of going up all the stairs,
Oh,
which I've
shit.
only done that one time.
Ooh,
So-
damn.
oh yeah, it was fun.
Fancy.
But one of those guys that plays in the band, I think he's the lead guitar player. He is a contractor, so he has a real job. Like he's a GC, does multiple houses every
Oh,
year.
shit.
Yeah, so he knows construction, and he is absolutely blown away by the organization and historical preservation stuff that they've done. I've seen it so many times that it's almost kind of like blurry a little bit to me. But he's like, "Can you believe that they have all those doors, labeled with?" Because literally,
Yeah.
there's 500
Stacks up.
doors
Oh, yeah,
that are
yeah.
stacked up that have labels. Second floor, room 114, left hand
Oh,
side,
shit.
blah 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 blah. The same with all the lights. Oh, I mean, it's bananas. All the stuff that
went
they
through
have.
there like 3 or 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. They had it cleaned out, and they were already starting. But I've been bought the auction thing. It was
Yeah.
for a fundraiser and everything. And I was like, and then all this stuff hit, and I was like, I'm just waiting. I know he's got better things to do than show 10 people around.
Oh no, Mark loves it. That's like his
I know.
favorite thing to do.
But I see him with this walking his horse around.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he loves them big ass damn dogs. But no, I went through about 3 or 4 years ago when we were with the leadership class. We went through there,
Right.
And it was already impressive then.
Yeah.
And that was like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic, and there's a lot of other things that are happening. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see some pretty significant additional housing developments happen. The Wells.
Well,
is on
the
that
Wells,
now.
right?
I was
Yeah.
drove by
I've
there
seen
today and
I've
saw
seen
the
dirt moving.
Yep.
They've got they're doing
And
work out
there's
there.
160 homes that are
Yeah.
online from D.R. Horton that are going to happen.
Right.
That's a total of 5 something, and in the end, there's some other ones that are happening. Part of that is a little bit slow because of the interest rates and all that stuff. But cyclical, obviously that'll trend back.
Right.
But the number one thing that we have that they don't have further east is available land, and land that you can actually purchase. So think about being, Company X, and you're going to build a production facility to, 25,000 square feet, and you're going to have 15 or 20 employees.
Yeah.
In Aledo, Weatherford, Fort Worth, whatever, there's a real good chance that you're going to have to ground lease that and still spend $20 million
Right.
on a facility. Well, here, you're going to buy the land and you're going to build it, and it's then going to be an asset that you can do whatever you want to with. That is a totally different can of worms. And so when that finally hits and rushes and people start looking at it and saying, shit, why are we not doing this more? And they already are to a certain extent.
Yep, I bet
You see some development, but when that really hits, you're going to see a pretty significant boom. And really the thing that I think is going to be hard for people to understand is that to the south on I-20, as long as water is not an issue, and that's a whole other can of worms, right? But I wouldn't be surprised one bit to see Santo High School be a 4A high school, and Mineral Wells still be a 4A high school.
Quick.
And most people don't
Because they're
understand
right
that
there,
concept.
right?
Oh,
but,
yeah,
but
no.
the interstate,
That's a
Yeah.
main thoroughfare. Yeah.
that growth area there is gonna boom that population. And
Right.
as soon as you have any sort of industry, well, then now folks are going to flee out further west, and it's just going to happen. And
Well, you saw
the
it
next-
happen in Brock.
right? Exactly, and it's just going to be a train.
Right.
Now, I do think that Brock and Millsap, to a certain extent, unless they figure out how to jump on board with this water solution that we have here or another one, and I think they'll jump on with ours.
Yeah.
But until they really fully commit to a water solution, then they might end up being a little bit of a desert
Right.
in development, and it might get hop skipped a little bit,
Right.
Because the next one will obviously jump on it, and the projection is in 50 years, Fort Worth to Abilene will look just like Dallas to Houston,
Yeah.
where you drive, and every now and then you'll see some cornfields,
Right.
or from Dallas / Fort Worth to Waco.
Right.
You'll see some cornfields every now and then, but for the most part, it's just stuff.
Yeah. It's
Everywhere,
yeah.
and people everywhere, and that's going to happen to the west
And
too.
you talked
Right.
about it before with like keeping with Mineral Wells, upgrading, doing good, but also keeping the small
hometown,
town.
yeah, that small town.
You
So
don't want
that's-
to. You don't
that's
want
the
to.
number
You don't
one-
want to
that's the number
explode
one
and become
thing
like a
that-
suburb of.
And that's why, in a big way, it's great that we have all of the comp plans and economic development plans that we do in place. We are a future looking, town in that respect,
Right.
because we can pick and choose, and we can also follow a plan. This is where industrial goes. This is where it's already laid out. It's
Yeah.
already done. You can look it up on the city website right now, and there will be some things that we have to move around and adjust and stuff like
Yeah.
that. There's also a lot of stuff coming in the next year and a half with code enforcement, where a lot of the buildings that are currently basically being used as storage
Right.
and or just held on to
Right.
because they know as soon as the baker gets
they're
open,
waiting. They're just- they're waiting.
then this will turn into my
Yeah.
golden goose. Those are going to turn into things where if you don't maintain and upkeep it, bank right across the street from my office,
It's going to turn into
then you're going to get fined X amount every single day, right?
Right.
And so those things are going to snowball on themselves. Damn it! And start
there's,
to turn into
there's a big major developer, especially downtown, that has said he wants to turn this into like a Fredericksburg
sure,
destination area.
yeah.
And I think that's awesome.
No, and there's a big so that is a big draw for folks.
Right.
One thing that we have that is a little bit different is the retail part of it, like a Fredericksburg or whatever, with the historical tie-in.
Right.
What we need, and everybody knows this is not a secret. What we need is a little bit more industry, quote unquote industry, job producing companies to be able to balance that, because you can't just live on tourism. You have to have a little bit more balance.
Right.
And then there has to be some infrastructure from the city and the taxpayers to support that, right? Like if you want the Baker Hotel and the Crazy Water Hotel and the 3 or 4 or 5 others that will almost certainly be built, right? Like they're going to build one out by the hospital. There's no way they're not.
Absolutely.
They're going to build a couple more chain hotels, right? And if you want those to be full on Monday through Thursday, well, then the city or whomever has to come in and say, we're going to put, and that's the taxpayers, we're going to put $20 million down, and we're going to build a sure enough convention center.
Right.
Or $40 million or whatever, however exponentially it goes, so that you can then host all of those, slapdick whatever, and I don't mean to daughters of the American whatever.
Right.
Every single week, librarian conference, whatever, to fill up those hotels. And now your tourism is a little bit more what you can lean on, because that's what those communities that you're referencing in Fredericksburg.
No, because you have to have those one-off conventions to help fill those rooms.
Right.
And then with that comes, I love seeing, and I love to go to, and that's how Fredericksburg started. I love to go to all the wineries and all the, there's history down there as well.
Sure.
I love to go to, and I love to see, and then that's how everything starts.
And the weekend part happens on its own.
Right.
Somewhat just because of the retail, but then also because of the stuff that, whether it's the chamber or the city or whatever, does in events. So I'll give you a good example. Last weekend, the Flying Pig Festival. We have to do our Corey Morrow, Matt Hilliard's bands, and Western Deluxe. I think Western Deluxe, we might have gotten them in a hotel. But the hotels were full. Completely and totally full. I mean, like Motel 6. Full. All of them.
Holy shit.
Full. So we have to do Airbnbs for them.
Yeah.
The room rate, average room rate on a regular Friday night in Mineral Wells was like $129. Last Friday night, $275.
Holy shit.
You just come stay at my place, I think.
I mean, I'll Airbnb my house if I have to.
Well, and so the way I explain it to people is, okay, I went to that concert in Stillwater.
Yeah.
Me and Brian and our family, we went up there. And we stayed with my buddy in Edmond because he has a house there. And it's like 45 minutes away. But we couldn't get, if we would have got a Super 8 shit rotten hotel room in Stillwater, like the day they announced the concert, it was like $700.
Oh, God.
Yeah, they knew.
Right. Everybody knew it was coming, right?
Yeah.
Well, so that's what you're looking for, obviously on a smaller scale, right?
Right.
But that's what you're looking for when you do events. And that's what we produced with the last one.
Yeah, you double your rates.
Right. And if you continue to do stuff like that, and then on top of that, add some of the business traveler friendly stuff.
So does the chamber tell the hotels this weekend?
Oh, sure. Way in advance.
And then that's how they know raise your rates?
Oh, no. They're going to raise them according to, like, every hotel is going to raise them according to, like, surge and need.
Yeah, right.
So and this is just like you would do it. So let's say you have firewood that you're selling, and you have 10 cords out here. Normally in August, you're going to charge $100 a cord for them because nobody needs
But
it.
they come winter.
In December, you're going to charge $150 a cord.
Right.
But if hell freezes over and it's crazy and power's out and shit like that, and you got 2 cords left, that shit's $300 a cord.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's the same. It's the same. It's supply and demand.
Supply and demand, yeah.
It's the same exact concept. And
Right,
so
right.
and I'm not speaking ill about hotels. That's how everybody does
Yeah.
it. That's how
Well, I mean,
Uber
look at
drivers do it.
Midland and Odessa.
Right, exactly. You
oil
go
field,
out to the oil field to Carrizo Springs, and it costs $2,000 a month to park your RV in some shithole place that never had an RV parked there until last year when they discovered,
we can do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a lot coming. We just
anything special we need to know about going up besides obviously Crazy Water in October.
Event wise.
Yeah, event wise, anything crazy going on?
Crazy Water in October is Josh Weathers will be the concert.
Okay.
And then Coup de Grace will be.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
And that's public out there. I actually knew that way before, but
But now you can say it.
And then let's see, Mary Wells will be another big thing.
God, dude, that's awesome.
In
Love
Christmas.
it. Love
and
it.
we're just now in the planning of that. I will say that I would look for this. So during Crazy Water Festival, you have the Thursday concert,
Yep.
and you have the Saturday festival.
Right.
I've been in one meeting with, and I think they have a game plan, but I'm not going to say it out loud as to what it is. There will be an event on Friday that will be a community-based event to make that a 3-day festival.
Oh, that's awesome.
And the ideas that have been thrown around are pretty badass.
That's awesome.
Probably outside type deal, probably downtown type deal, but everything from super fancy theater type thing to like
Street
dueling
dance,
piano,
yeah.
street dance. All those
Oh, yeah.
ideas have been thrown around, and so whatever distills out of that is going to be badass, and I think that will make it a true weekend destination type of, or
Yeah.
I say weekend
Festival.
sure enough, 3-day festival type deal. And
That's awesome.
and that's what you're what
Yeah,
you're looking for. And then
sure.
again, you start stringing those things together, and there's a guy who owns a business. Have you guys been to, and I'll say his name, his name's Red Thomas. Have you guys been south on 281, one block past the turn to Martin Luther King? There's one of those old gas stations.
Oh, yeah.
He has a mural on the side of it with
Oh,
a bunch of
yeah.
cows.
Yeah. I've
Yep.
seen that. I saw that mirror. Yeah.
So his business is Red Knight. He's a security, internet security guy.
Yep.
Worked for DoD for a long time. Most of his internet security is not like securing your business. It's stuff with contracts with DoD and all that.
Yeah.
He does a little bit of that. Gives back a ton to the chamber and to the community.
Oh, wow.
Like, very, very, very good dude. But he and his wife lived in San Antonio. They drove through, stayed the weekend one time just because shits and giggles, and at the end of the weekend driving back to San Antonio said, I want to move there. Let's move there. And so he moved his business there, and he started in the office in that building that we're in, the Post's building right behind me.
Right.
Had his office still going in San Antonio. He still does today. He has 2 campuses, has hired people, has hired kids from the high school as interns.
Oh, shit.
All because of what he saw downtown and what he saw in the city, and then what
I
he
had people one
saw
more time.
out of people that he
Yeah,
met.
The
you know.
weekend visit he had.
Yeah, exactly.
He fell in love with the place.
And that's not a unique story. I hear that
Yeah.
from more than one person, and so that really is when people say, "Oh, I don't know why y'all are spending money on this, or why anybody would want to do this or that." It's because it really does have a product, and it
So
really
you
does have
have
an
to-
end result.
Some people don't understand that you got to spend money to
Well, and think about
make
like,
it become the place.
like from your employer, like I know for a fact the guy that and he's gone now, right? That was in charge.
Yeah.
The number of times that I spoke with him, which is limited, what he said about what we had going, in the community was very, very positive. And he, had a lot of really good things to say about the quality of life
Oh,
there.
yeah.
And
No, he bought a
that's-
place here when
Yeah,
he was.
and that's the thing is that finding those.
Well, that's what Mark did,
Right.
coming through here. He fell in love with the place, he said, and he had at first he bought that bed and breakfast, and then
Yep.
he fell in love with the town, and
And finding those C-suite level folks that are going to invest their time and money into the community. If you can build something that makes it attractive, and also too, I got those are Father's
at
Day
the-
gift.
Yeah, I
Oh,
was
yeah.
just walking- I was just there today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you got to drive all the way to university to find those.
Right.
From
Or-
here. Or you can just walk in. Well, that's an attractive thing for people,
Right.
especially folks that are playing a 17-team tournament out at Rocker B, and only half the teams can stay there, so they got to come over and stay
Right.
here. And mama and babies that don't want to go out there 7 hours before the game for one game, they're going to come over here and spend money on stuff like that.
And I saw that today. So today at lunch, we were at Taqueria. And so we were like, oh, just give us, there was 4 of us. Oh, we'll go to the bar. And they're like, it's pretty. I'm like, you don't have a table in the bar for 4? And they did. But every other table back in the back was parents with their kids because they were playing out at Rocker B.
Yep.
It's a baseball team with mom and dad and every other kid they had and their player. Besides one table was Rocker B. And I went, that makes sense.
Well,
And
that's just one part of it. So I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with people that were doing that or something else out at the lake and have found that to rent a house out at PK is going to cost them $4,000 for 5 days.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I can come to...
And it's not a house. A lot of the times it's a trailer house. You know what? You know
with
what
a badass boat dog or whatever. Yeah, and so then I can come to town here, not that far away, and stay in either an Airbnb or at the Crazy Water, and eventually at the Baker.
Right.
And it's going to be X instead of Y. Why would I not do that?
Absolutely.
Right? And that also is going to change the dynamic all over the county. It's going to change investment dynamics for people that see the house on Northwest 4th Avenue and say, you know what? If I, slap a little bit of paint on that and clean it up some and put some nice shit in there, I can rent that out for $400 a night.
Right.
And even if I do that 10 nights out of the month, on average through the whole year, that's going to pay my note and then some.
Right.
Well, when people start seeing that, and they already are, right? But when people start investing in that, all that does is help everybody around here, and it helps the guys that are painting, and it helps the guys that are roofing, and it helps the guys that are mowing yards and all that shit. It helps the whole community. And back to your original point about keeping it nice, I think you can also keep it from being too gentrified.
Yeah. People want to have that small town vibe.
Right. And I think there's some, because this happened in Weatherford and Aledo, and it will happen in Mineral Wells if you let it happen, and I think it's a sin. You can push your lower population out by how you grow.
Right.
Because it becomes too expensive.
Right.
If you can somehow figure out how to push them up instead, you will find your hometown advocates being the most stand-up red, white, and black flag waving, I love Mineral Wells. Like, that will be your best advocates, no matter what their paycheck is, because they believe in your town because the town kept them afloat.
Right.
Instead of push them out.
Right.
And to me, that's the number one. Just like helping the dumbass kid that can't pass any other class. It's the same concept.
Yeah.
It's the same fucking kid.
Too. Yeah. No, 100%.
Well, I mean, when we were growing up here, when we were high school, and there was nothing downtown.
Right.
Nothing.
No, it was Garrett's.
We were never down here. That we cruised the strip, and the strip was Berkshire's, which was Diamonds
at the park. Yeah.
We cruised down there and passed Jack in the Box, and we just did that strip. That was
to the car wash, which is now where what's at the car wash? Oh, Dollar General.
Okay.
That was the car wash.
That was our strip. We never even went downtown.
Right.
Because there was
no reason to go down there.
It was dark.
Right.
There was no lights on. There was nothing. The only thing you had to do was to break into the Baker to run around. Don't do that now.
No kidding. Yeah. And kudos to, obviously, the main investor, but also others that saw the vision, saw what could happen, and said, you know what? I'm
Well, the main investor
lay my
didn't
balls
have to
on the
do
table.
that, right? I mean, he
Okay,
was
so
fine.
I have one big question that I see all the time on Facebook.
Okay.
Oh, shit.
All the fucking time. What are we doing for the kids?
Okay.
Because it's like skating rink. Look, skating rink was cool when I was a kid. Is it cool now? I don't think so.
Right.
No.
Teen club,
So-
is that cool now? I don't think so.
YMCA
Okay.
has been here 3 or 4 or 5 times over the last month and a half.
Okay.
And that is a real thing. They're looking for a facility. They're looking for, right now, what the community needs.
Right.
Because they can do everything.
Right.
And it may start small and eventually turn into big, but that's the next thing for, quote unquote, for kids that I see coming is
The YMCA.
Yeah.
That'd
I
be
should have
good.
thought about that earlier.
Yeah.
And there are several people that will stand up on top of the table and bark that because in the end they want those questions answered on Facebook,
Right.
right? But they also want a positive influence.
100%.
You know, and not to say that, you know, shithead kids are going to knock out windows,
And they're going to be
it's always-
shitheads no
That's
matter
always
what.
going to happen.
And yes, today's kids are more than likely, because I have 2 of them in my house, they're much more likely to look at their phone than they are to go down and play basketball or whatever. But if you have an outlet and you have a service, there are so many other parts of the community that can be affected by that,
No, I
including
know
adults.
Right.
I know a lot of 19 to 20-year-old guys that play in basketball leagues and stuff in Fort Worth,
Tristan being one of them.
Right.
and other guys that, because it's just not here, they're playing over there.
Right.
But bring that
If-
money here.
Like you said, if the YMCA,
Sure.
well, they could play in some city league here, you know. Used to be city
and when
leagues
you
out
say-
at the base, you know.
And when you say bring that money here, the main thing is Tristan, if he doesn't drive to Fort Worth 2 nights a week to go do X or Y,
Yeah.
or even to Weatherford X or Y,
Yeah.
then he has that money in his pocket to be able to spend here.
Right.
And that's how you,
100%.
that's how you
If there was-
keep that money here.
100%.
if there was something like what they're playing in that they're driving over, because they don't like to drive over. They talk
Right.
about bitching about driving over there to do it, but they
Right.
do it because if it was here, well, hell yeah, they're going to do it.
Right.
I mean, no
And there's all
brainer.
kinds of other stuff that YMCA does, like, you know, adult literacy programs,
Right,
and
right. No,
childcare
yeah,
stuff, and all
100%.
kinds of stuff like that will benefit. And there's a lot of other groups that are working on, you know, eliminating poverty and things like that. It's all about figuring out how you do that the right way,
Right.
and how you take the low hanging fruit of folks that are, because obviously what affects people and stops them from being successful? Drugs, you know,
Right.
no education, things like that, right? How do you catch those folks that are right on the edge of that, lift them up first, and then identify the next one? You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's in my mind, that's the key. And there's a group of folks that are working on that too. So there's a lot coming.
Well, there was, I mean, there's a lot that we opened up and unraveled here.
Oh wait, so
We're not done yet.
hang on.
I was
This is
just
on my
trying
brain.
to go ahead.
I'm going to cut you off because you cut Seth.
I appreciate that.
Coach Hobbs. Excuse me.
Thank you.
Not Seth.
Bitch.
Smoking Barrel Place, whatever that.
Okay.
We had heard
CC's?
CC's.
Yeah, that's the intention. I don't know
It's,
where that's gone.
The guy that has a hotel
Yep.
is
Or did. I don't know if he still does, but yeah,
planned to open a CC's.
that was the plan.
Still, Yeah.
Honestly, I haven't been in on that conversation.
Right.
Also, I can't
And
speak
I heard
to
a
it.
Wendy's was interested over there by where like Panda Express is and stuff.
There is a piece of property right over there. I can't tell you for sure which retail one, but I know there's more than one that are interested.
I heard Wendy's was
There's
for sure.
another one that is extremely popular
Chick-fil-A.
with people
but there's not enough
all
rooftops.
over the place.
Well, everybody
that
keeps talking
is
about.
very
Everybody keeps talking about why
interested
Chick-fil-A would
in
kill.
that same
And I said
location.
Chick-fil-A's
But there's
very.
not enough rooftops here, though. Is that the problem?
They're
Chick-fil-A's very-
extremely
yeah.
interested in that same
because Chick-fil-A's
location.
very
I can't say that it's that
that
particular,
but very
place.
specific
Right.
about where they move into. But I remember a few years ago where they were bringing their
Mobile.
mobile here and setting up by where Arby's and stuff
Yep.
was and McDonald's, and they were, you know, of course,
Killing it.
but they are very strict on where they set up.
Right. Right.
And
There's some crazy things too about economic development, and
Yeah.
like where QSR quick serve restaurants want to be on which side of the road,
Right.
And stuff
yeah,
like
it's
that.
the same like
Oh.
traffic flow
Which-
and all
which-
this.
That's why I think Arby's has never done well. Burger King
It's like
now
that building's.
Arby's.
It's like that building's cursed.
Yeah, but
I
but
love Arby's.
there's only one In and Out, and that's the problem. I think I could be wrong. I don't know, but there's one In and Out.
Like I said, if they put it out right
Which-
off going
to the
180
road.
right
Let
there.
me blow your mind a
But
little
then
bit.
you got
So
that.
how strong is Starbucks' brand to be as successful as they are and be on the wrong side of the road?
Correct.
Because you think about it,
They're not
people
going
that
out
live
of town.
here, people that live here are going east.
Right.
And they got to cross traffic to go to that location.
And then when that traffic gets backed up, because that's also high school traffic.
Right. All that stuff. And their brand is still
And you got to think,
able to hold that.
they
should be on the other side of the road.
Yeah, right there. I mean,
Yeah.
now the one next to them does not do as well.
I think they do better than what you think.
they do.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I always see
I know
Facebook posts.
I know a lot of people that freaking just go
No,
there.
I get that, but I always see Facebook posts from like, we're running a special. We're running, to me, it seems like we're trying to get people into our place.
No, they're too big. That's a big chain, man.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
They're
but
they're just
that
fine.
area right next to them is actually owned by the school district,
Right.
and there are now the wheels are turning. There was some hiccups in getting that going, and the wheels are now turning to where
I'm
that
very
could be-
surprised that intersection, baseball field, caddy corner to that,
Uh-huh.
where it's just an empty field,
Uh-huh.
nothing has come in there yet.
Floodplain
Which, is that what the
yeah,
issues,
yeah,
yeah.
Oh,
very,
okay.
very big.
So the big one, the big one is where the expo center and the rodeo grounds are,
Right.
because that was Texas military, some such. I can't remember what. Anyways,
Which is why the National Guard old building is where it's at. Yep.
right. So that property was basically given to the PBCLA,
Yep.
but it can be deeded back to the city or the EDC or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I know it sounds crazy, but you think about any chain subset where you go in Weatherford or anywhere else, and if you find a Walmart, which is what we have here,
Right.
look right next to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible to not find what you would think to be a competitor. It's really not,
Right.
but a competitor right across the street.
Right.
That piece of property is the most valuable in the West. It's not even
100%.
close.
The one right there.
Right there where the expo center. And so
Yeah.
obviously, so what's the solution for that? You know, it goes through the House and the Senate and getting approved. It has been approved to be passed over to the EDC or the city. What you got to do though is you got to find a home for PPCLA.
Yep.
You know, all that kind of stuff. And so that's where the city comes into
Yeah.
place. It's finding
Like,
another
hey,
place for that stuff to go. But do those guys need to be in that location? No. Matter of fact, there's a lot of things they don't like about that location, right? But there's a place that, you know, is a very popular Texas grocer chain that would really, really, really like to be in that location.
I heard that was over by the golf course.
Oh no, it would be the only place that would happen
Right
would be
across
that
the street.
location.
Really?
Yeah.
For sure.
And here,
So close to the high school stadium,
oh yeah,
which is where they also use for parking.
oh yeah, that's
Whatever.
yeah. That
No, if one-
that floodplain area you're talking about, that could turn into a parking lot
Yeah.
real quick.
Real quick.
No, if one of those came to town,
Yeah,
But
but that's one of the
Now-
easy concessions.
I was also told that one time that would be west of town.
Not in a big. Now, are we going to see development west of town? Yes. I think the first thing you're going to see is some form of a hotel chain out there,
Yeah.
and then you're going to see retail development around.
I was also told one time. Now this is a long time ago, but 377, 337, 377,
337.
337, and on that corner,
Yep.
the east corner would be like a Lowe's, Home Depot,
Very possible. Yeah. Again, I think you'll see a hotel
right?
make
100%.
the jump first,
Right.
and then you'll see retail development around it, and it'll be a master plan type deal
Right,
where
right.
somebody will come in and have some ungodly amount of money to where whoever it is, those guys that we know that own those pieces of property right there,
Right.
that will be like, holy shit,
yeah,
okay,
just make a fucking
and then
kill.
and then they'll turn it into, you know, as the hub, and then they'll build off of it,
Right.
Just
Yeah.
like anything else does.
I've heard something's going down over there, like, you know, that open lot area by like the car wash, you know,
Which car wash?
that new one they built. over there by like across from
Oh,
Pandas.
by Panda and stuff. But
On the other side, yeah. I mean, those are for sale.
Mhm.
What specifically is going in there, I don't know.
Okay, one last question
Go ahead.
before we leave. The old Tommy's supermarket,
The Blue Store.
the blue store,
South of town.
south of town.
Yeah.
I've seen work being done.
There's
but
work done there. Do we know what's happening there?
Not me.
Because I was told like an old carniceria, panaderia.
Oh, very well could be the case.
I don't
Now,
know.
some of those things are grassroots that don't go through the EDC or the chamber or
Right.
anything like that until they happen. For example, Super Recuerdos, which, by the way, if you haven't been in there,
Love
they're
you
fantastic.
fucking need to
So-
go.
Sunday morning, shit.
Gosh, damn, you have to go.
Nothing like getting 40 dozen.
40 dozen tortillas. This guy went
Don't
and
you
asked.
fuck. We've already talked about it 500 times.
He's an idiot.
I did not ask for that.
No, he
No.
goes, I want.
Tell the story right.
I will tell the story right. He walked into there and said,
I told you the story.
I need 40 tortillas. He wanted 40.
I said around.
They made him 40 dozen tortillas. And so he only bought like 3 or whatever it was.
No, I bought way more than that, but I watched
They
the chick.
made him 40
I
dozen
found
tortillas.
a lady that spoke good English.
Did you?
Yes. 'cause
Allegedly.
She got the notepad out.
Why would you ask for 40 tortillas?
Because I told you why. Because my
'Cause
brain...
when I go buy Mrs. Beard tortillas, they're in
Yeah.
tins.
20 packs or something. No, I said I need around 20. I said I need around 40 round.
And they made
But then,
40 dozen.
of course, instantly when I left, I thought, why don't you just say fucking by the dozen? I'm not Mexican. No, I'm a white boy. But they were good. And
No, they're fucking awesome.
and I give them plenty of business. I go in there about once a week, and
At least once a week, I go there and get 2 dozen.
Sunday morning. So far, I have only taken it to go.
Yeah.
But I have sat and waited, and they will set. They have all those
Yeah.
dining tables in there. They'll set chips and salsa
Oh, yeah.
and stuff out in
Oh,
there,
yeah.
so you can just sit and eat there.
Yeah.
And the pantaria, like the
Oh, those
Sweet
sweet breads.
breads.
Oh,
whenever I
got
bought their hot leeks, that was
their sweet bread, and this Tasha's favorite is just like the slice of bread that has butter and sugar on it.
yeah. They got like a empanada.
Yep.
Did the dirty with a croissant type thing with pineapple in it.
Oh, so good.
I love
Like
that.
a
Whatever
jackrabbit slap a bear.
whatever the green sauce
Badass.
is. Once a week, I buy and Chess loves the pico.
Mm-hmm.
And
But so back to my point. So that was a completely like private deal that in no way went through the chamber or the EDC or any of that until they were moving all kinds of stuff, and it was already like weeks away from being done. And we're like,
Yeah.
oh shit, something's coming in here. What's this? And so there's a lot of that happens, and
Yeah.
probably the case with the old Tommies that
Yeah.
you're talking about, and in a lot of other places too. Now, in some places, if it's creating a bunch of jobs, then it's going to come through the EDC or
Right,
the
right,
city
right,
in some
right.
kind of way, because they're going to look for some sort of kickback on it,
Right.
a tax
but if it's
abatement
like
of some
if it's
kind.
like a relocation or
Sometimes
like
that
that.
too, but
Yeah.
when it's a grassroots type thing, a private investor that says I want to do X here,
Right.
then there's a lot of times it'll happen. It's a private deal, and none of us know about it until it's already rocking and rolling, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of those that happen every day,
Yeah.
And then there's some like the 7 Brew, where I knew about that 3 weeks into my job, so 2 years ago.
Oh shit.
Yeah, like the guy came in, he's like, yeah, we're gonna put a 7 Brew. We're all like, what the hell's that?
yeah.
And he's like, oh, it's gonna be right here in between this and that. And we're like, you think that's gonna work? Oh yeah, they're successfully all over the
That
place.
damn thing's
Yeah.
busy.
And then there was
Fucking
it was
time.
never been
a
there
full calendar year where not a goddamn thing happened. And then one day, some guys showed up
Moved the
with
whole
a
bitch in too.
with a
trailer.
paver and did some work. And then the next day, that thing came in 3
Yeah,
pieces
just-
Yeah.
on a trailer. Plop,
Well,
plop, plop.
but there was also
plop.
people that got stuck in there
Sure.
in the middle of the wall. Then
But so to my point, like, what was the total timeline on the actual construction?
0.
Like,
Yeah.
a couple of months maybe.
Yeah.
And they're in operation.
They're rolling.
But, literally a year and a half before that, they're coming to us telling us, hey, we're going to do this. And it was all about coding. That in particular, they didn't get anything from the city. They didn't get anything from the EDC because they're not really creating real jobs, right? But at the same time, like, we still knew about it. And so a lot of that stuff is in the pipeline. And then sometimes that's on the plan. But they also have Granbury, and they have Weatherford, and they have Jacksboro. And as they go, one of them falls out, and they're like, no, can't do Mineral Wells. We're going to do this instead.
The lady that created HCO, or not created,
Yeah.
opened the
Just
HCO
went there
here in
today.
town. Huh?
Was there today. HTO. Would you?
So did you know about that before?
HTO,
Yeah. So I knew her and her husband
Mhm.
when they owned a liquor store or opened and built a liquor store in Weatherford. And when I met them, that's how I met them. And they created that drive-through, which is Apes Liquor.
Yeah.
And then they sold it. They built it in the exact Majestic Liquor specifications. And then I'll be a son of a bitch if Majestic didn't come buy them out.
And
Right.
they probably made a fucking
Oh, I'm
killing.
sure. And then Majestic's went under.
Mhm.
And it's now called Apes again,
Uh-huh.
but another new owners. And then randomly, like, I saw the HCO, and then I saw her, the lady. I was like, do you not? And she was like, oh my God. And she gave me a hug. And anyway, but so I was like, oh, and then she was building this one and then one in like Graham and wherever else. And I'm like,
Now that you say that, I feel like I've seen the one in Graham driving by. That
Right.
looked very similar.
right. It's exactly the same, you know. And I'm just like, but they did that, and then they got money from that, and then they created that, you know. And it's just money. Investment creates money,
Sure.
creates
Well, today my
more
lunch
ability
was,
to invest.
My lunch was City Meats. Went in,
Great.
got a club, got a turkey, and got the pepperoni grilled cheese
Mhm.
for Taylor. While they were cooking, I may have moseyed over to the
Yep.
clothing.
Yep.
They got more stuff in there because they're moving stuff back and forth from crazy, but a lot more guy clothing in there.
Mhm.
Saw a T-shirt I really wanted and I almost bought. And then went back in and got my sandwiches. And then on the way back to drop off the sandwich at Chas, pulled an HTO and
Oh yeah.
it was-
Shameless plug for a non-chamber member, by the way. You
Who
should
is?
stop in.
Which
to
one?
Swaggy Snow, which is in
Really?
the back of the collective. Because
Really?
one
Jerk.
Hudson Hobbs is slinging snow cones back there.
Oh, and they had their hey, they were busy as shit on concert night.
Ooh-wee. Yes,
Saturday,
they
Saturday even worse.
Oh, I no doubt.
Because that in there, like, on Saturday, the people that absolutely kicked ass was in that building because it's inside the festival, but they had
yeah.
the air conditioning.
Oh, yeah.
you can walk in there and be like, oh my
I walked in there a couple of times, and it's
Oh, my
nut to
God.
butt. It's like a
Yeah.
concert, and I'm going through people, and they're buying shit left and right
Oh,
just
yeah.
to get the excuse to
Yeah.
stand.
Oh
in.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I just was walking through there. A couple of people might have asked me, I was waiting on my sandwiches. Just kind
I'm
of
just looking. I'm just
cruising.
looking.
Yeah.
Just cruising through.
Hayden does a fantastic job at City Meats, and
Yeah,
you know,
it's
I think
those sandwiches are
I've had quite a few of them. They're awesome.
The jalapeno popper grilled cheese.
Mhm.
Ooh,
Never had it.
Oh, dude.
shit, son!
Okay.
It's
My-
made it to the. It started off as like a secondary menu. It's on the main one now.
Shit.
So what's your number one? At
My
City
number
Meats?
one is the club. I just
Okay.
love it, but the jalapeno popper is moving up there.
So I go chopped Italian. It's my number
That's
one.
good. That's good.
And then the City Meats is my number two.
Yeah, I just love a club sandwich.
I hear
Give me the ham, turkey, cheese, bacon on there. You know, you
Chips
can't
in
go
the middle.
wrong. Yeah, but Taylor, who is the picky eater,
Mhm.
I didn't even tell her I said, I'll get you lunch. Didn't tell her what. And I said, give me that pizza grilled cheese. That sounds like it's something a kid would like. She loved it. It's a
Yeah.
grilled cheese, but mozzarella, and it's got the pepperonis
Oh,
on
yeah.
there and stuff. And she's like, there's too many pepperonis, and I'm just
Eating what she doesn't want.
What are
One
these-
for you,
Ah,
one
maybe-
for me.
yeah.
One for you.
No, and it's the jalapeno. Taylor might be Mexican, for some reason because she loves everything spicy. Everything is spicy. So I got her the jalapeno chips, and she's just
Nice.
She loves it.
loves it. And got the teas from HTO.
There
Awesome.
you go.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate Seth you coming
Of course,
out,
man.
hanging out, partying, drinking with us.
We might have 2 episodes.
No, it'll be one. It'll be a long one, but it'll be one.
Good God.
Well, our main listeners, our diehards, love the longer ones.
Really?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
One in particular.
Something wrong
Our
with
number-
those folks.
I know.
He said he's our number 1 guy, right? He claims.
He says.
He claims.
Is this somebody in
He also
Sri
claims you-
Lanka or whatever?
He also claims he works a lot.
He doesn't.
He was side texting me
Oh my God. Oh God. This
Oh,
guy.
there's 2.
yesterday. He's in Florida,
No, he went to Disney World or something like that.
and he loves the.
No, this guy. He did this last time. Stop.
There's a
So much.
That's why I have a black.
professional radio shows. They have like a cough button.
Not us.
Yeah.
We don't do that.
We're
Stop.
we're on
Stupid.
filter.
Yeah,
Stop.
also, don't snort coke or whatever. Before.
Well,
It wasn't coke. It was dandelions. that he
pretty sure they
snorted.
do.
Would you stop?
Fuck you.
You're gonna talk shit about people and then do that.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
I don't have anything else. You got anything else?
No.
Wait,
thanks,
actually,
thanks
Oh,
again.
this
for,
drunk it.
motherfucker. All right. We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.